Welcome to Watch, Review, Repeat. This is the podcast where two best friends discuss the latest in film and television and then do it all over again the following episode. My name is Colton Brown, and joining me is Andrew Meadows.
We're here for another episode.
Oh, yeah. It's been a little while, actually.
Yeah, it's been a little bit. Yeah, we've been a little busy. I've been North American trotting, I should say. But it's good. We had some holidays. A holiday and
we had one holiday, a singular holiday, since we last recorded. So I hope everyone enjoyed their Thanksgiving.
That's it. I did not.
I understand that you had a tough time on yours, but I also understand other good things are happening in your life as well. So I don't know if that's going to come up at this episode or not, but we can save that if you want.
We'll talk about it. Yeah.
Little sizzle for the folks listening at home. So we have, we're making up for lost time, I guess, with this episode. We have two big TV shows that we're covering. We're covering House of the Dragon. Obviously, we've talked about it a lot in catching up sections, and I don't think we've really addressed it since the finale aired. And then we're also going to be talking about the Lord of the Rings, the Rings of Power, which you've talked a lot about, and I have said very little about because I was very much late to the party in terms of watching it all. But
you did arrive to the party. Yes,
I did. I eventually got there. That's right. So the two sort of dueling fantasy shows, it seems like that a lot of people wanted to compare them to each other, and we're gonna do it too. That's right. We're going to do it too. But we'll also talk about them independently. We'll talk about them separately. And the good news is we will have the expert in the room to help us with those conversations. Anna Mattis will be joining us a little bit later. She's read all of Fire and Blood through what has been covered in season 1 of House of the Dragon and a little past those events. And she's the Lord of the Rings expert. She's read the book many times. She's read The Hobbit many times, and I believe she just finished listening to the Silmarillion. So she's kind of our Tolkien expert and our Martin expert. So we'll have probably the two kind of somewhat unfiltered opinions in the sense that neither of us have read Fire and Blood and neither of us have read The Lord of the Rings. Although Andrew is showing me a hardcover edition. Is it? Well, maybe it's just
This is a 50th anniversary edition of Lord of the Rings. I had it pre-ordered for release whenever it came out, and it's
some golden pages. It looks like
the pages are gold.
Very cool. Nice.
Well beyond my class. I had to figure out a way to read this. I haven't opened it aside from showing it to Colton. There's a map in here.
Always helpful.
Yep. And it's the Lord of the Rings. So we'll see what happens with that.
Right.
I'll read it eventually.
Well, perhaps talking about the show and its source material that it takes inspiration from, maybe that will inspire you to take the dive. She's actually in the midst of a reread. I think she's in fellowship still right now, but I'll let her talk about that sort of thing when she joins us a little bit later. We're going to do some news and some other things first. I'll also say, kind of hinted at it, Andrew had a tough Thanksgiving. No secrets is that he was sick. I also am a little sick. I don't think I had the things quite as bad as he did, but it's still affecting my throat a little bit. So if I sound a little off, it's probably because there's some lingering after effects. And if Andrew hacks up along at any point,
it's
probably related to that as well. So I try to edit all those out for the final version. But for those listening on Patreon, they're not so fortunate. They get the raw version. They get to hear it all. They get to hear that. All of this, everything happening right now that you just heard, might actually still be on the regular version. We'll see. We'll see if I can deal with it. Might be funny to keep it in. But anyway, I want to say we still have a bonus episode up on Patreon, patreon.com/watchreviewrepeat. Yes, I know it's December by the time this episode is out, but you can still listen to our 7 Decades of Horror episode.
God, they go by so fast. What?
They go by so fast. Well, I don't know. I was going to repeat what you said.
They go by so fast.
Yes, I think you had it right. I think that's what you said. It's what I was going to say anyway. But yeah, it's our current bonus episode right now until the next one, until we have an opportunity to record another one. which requires us to figure out what we're going to do. But first, we got to get on track with our regular episodes.
We're getting there.
Cover the things we've been watching, and we've been doing pretty good lately. We took a little time off for the holiday. I think that's certainly reasonable, and now we're back at it. But $2 a month gets you access to timed exclusive bonus episodes like that one, as well as early access to the raw versions of all of our regular episodes.
Coughs and all.
Maybe some sneezes, who's to say. Maybe some snoring. Sometimes that makes it into the reguler episode too.
Sometimes it does. Yeah.
Depends on how long we go, right?
You don't know what you're going to get.
Don't know. It's truly a mystery every time. So patreon.com/watch review repeat is your home to basically sign up and support us on Patreon. So, fun fact: the last episode we recorded was Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. We all, Enrique was hanging out with us as he does for Marvel movies. We spent a long time talking about fun facts. We spent about 20 minutes talking about fun facts. And we spent another 45 minutes talking about news. And then we spent an hour and a half, roughly, talking about the movie. We'll see if that happens here, but what I can promise you is we will not have 20 minutes of fun facts here. Even though we have two things to talk about, I think we'll have plenty of fun facts, courtesy of Anna, in terms of, what is informing these shows, like what's the source material, like what's the deal with all this. So I'm only going to offer one fun fact, and if you have anything to tack on, you'll certainly feel free. But my fun fact is that The Winds of Winter, wouldn't you guess it, it's still not out yet.
That's a good fun fact.
Let's mark it down for posterity's sake. Today is November 30th of the year 2022, and The Winds of Winter is still not out yet. George is busy. He's busy doing Elden Ring. He's busy doing House of the Dragon. He's busy doing fucking anything else, it seems. But as Neil Gaiman would say,
his book.
As Neil Gaiman would say, he is not your bitch. So he'll put it out when he's fucking finished. Or he won't put it out. We'll see what happens. Hey, we got a complete story in that Game of Thrones series that everyone loved, certainly by the end of it, right? So, Andrew's unwrapping a Batman Mondo soundtrack, of which I also have. We'll just do a brief little catching up here. I also have that, and I've listened to it in its entirety, and let me tell you, it's glorious.
Is it glorious?
It's glorious. It's the full, complete original Michael Giacchino soundtrack. Got some stellar packaging. You got the is that a multicolored vinyl set, or is that like the all black one? One way to find out.
One way to find out.
As long as you can figure out how to get the wrap off.
Just gotta sit there and rub the fuck out of it until it rips. TBD. We'll talk about it.
TBD. We'll talk about it. All right, you let me know. Unfortunately, that means that we're going to transition into something decidedly less fun and sad, in fact, because we have another in memoriam section to head on. We yet again went too long between episodes, and here we are. Jason David Frank, actor in Power Rangers. You would recognize him as both the Green Ranger initially, and then later the White Ranger. Has died at age 49 from suicide, unfortunately.
Really? No way, really?
Really sad, yeah. 49 years old. His wife, I think, spoke out recently, basically saying, he struggled with his mental health, and obviously it led him to take his own life, which is a really awful thing. I mean, I know he was pretty active on the con scene, and I think that, I think he was really only mostly known for Power Rangers, but I feel like he was with the franchise for a long time, always kind of stood by it, was proud of his work on that, but obviously he was struggling with a lot of his own demons as well, and it's just really sad. So I did want to say, I fucking loved that Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie as a kid with what's Ivan Ooze? Remember Ivan Ooze?
Yeah. There's some
Lord
good stuff.
Zed, Rita Repulsa. Just classic stuff. And I always thought, like, the Green Ranger and the White Ranger for me were like, they were just the fucking coolest. Like, this guy was the coolest, Power Ranger, without a doubt.
He was the one with the soul patch, yeah?
Yeah, the soul patch. He had the fucking little dagger flute thing. He had his own Zord. Like, it was just like the baddest fucking ass Power Rangers character. So, it was the perfect kind of thing for me when I was a kid. So, I appreciated his work. So I kind of want to watch the Power Rangers movie again at some point.
The OG one, for sure.
Yeah, the OG one. Like, who knows if it's actually good, but, there's got to be some nostalgic value to be mined from it.
Well, I can tell you the fucking music's awesome. I can tell you that.
That's true. It's got a banger of a theme, that's for sure. But, I just wanted to quickly say rest in peace to Jason David Frank. Best wishes to his wife. I think he may have had children. I'm not 100% sure, but that's right. He himself lost his daughter about a year ago, and I'm sure that's
man,
something that obviously had I think a pretty large toll on his mental health. I have to imagine that's got to be a really difficult thing to.
Was she
deal
suicide
with,
as well?
That I don't know for sure, but one way or another,
it's still hard.
Bad situation all around. So yeah, really, really,
God
really tough
dang.
thing. So I will say, just since I don't think that's anything we've really talked about, on this podcast before, we generally keep things pretty upbeat and, not too heavy, if we can help it. But the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline is actually now just a 3-digit thing. It used to be the 1-800-273-TALK, the Logic song basically. But now it's 988. You can just dial 988 on your phone, and that'll reroute you to the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. So if anyone seems to be struggling, anxiety, depression, mental health, and is expressing suicidal ideations, anything like that, encourage them. I encourage you, call 988. It can make a difference. So not to yet again shift tones dramatically, but did you get that Batman package opened yet?
I did. Tell me about it now? So what I can tell you about this Batman package from Mondo, for any of those who've never ordered anything from Mondo, I can't speak of their musical records, but of their scores and their soundtracks and stuff from movies. They are of the topmost quality. So on the there's a bunch of glyphs all over the background of this Batman album,
like Riddler glyphs kind of thing, right?
Exactly. And at the top, they're kind of glazed over in the form of the bat signal.
Interesting.
And then at the bottom it says "To the Batman," but it's in the black of his cape, and you can't see it, but you can feel it. And then if you shine it over the light, you can see it.
It's interesting. I don't even think I noticed it on my own copy of that, but I can see it looking at you through the webcam.
Oh, can you?
When you hold it to the light, I can kind of see. I can see the symbol. I can't really see the "To the Batman." Oh no, I can see it now. Yeah. I really don't think I'd noticed that on my own. That's very cool. What I will say is, if you look at the records themselves, they have little character quotes, dialogue quotes, kind of pressed onto them, and towards around the center ring, which is pretty cool.
Oh yeah, okay. I didn't even notice that.
That's my one little flourish that I happen to notice with mine. I think
Red's I am vengeance. Yeah.
It's
awesome.
But I think the other side is what the hell are you supposed to be, or something like that, right?
It's exactly what it says. What the hell are you supposed to be?
So I think you got a Catwoman one, and then you got a Riddler one. So it's pretty.
That's awesome.
Very cool set.
Yeah,
highly recommend it. It might be sold out. So
maybe it's sold out.
Pay a lot of money on eBay, but
it's kind of the thing with their records. The saddest one that I've ever received from them was one that was well past the point of expiration. I had to order it on eBay, but I wanted it.
I see.
It was the Tron record.
Oh, was that the one that was pretty beat to hell when you got it?
Yeah, and it was it had gotten wet at some point, and
Jesus Christ.
It was kind of disappointing.
I didn't put that in the description. Yeah, this record is absolutely fucked.
Yeah. I mean, it still plays, but the level of presentation isn't there. And Mondo really, I mean, just goes all out. So, like, if you have a movie that you're 110% all about, I can tell you that the moment the Mondo record comes available, just like pre-order it, because you won't be disappointed.
You're going to wait a long-ass time. Fucking Batman came out 8 months ago or whatever, but hey, it finally came.
Yeah, and I think I've got Dune. I think you got Dune for me for my birthday.
I got you the Dune sketchbook, I think. I have the Dune proper, like, original soundtrack. Yours is like a 3 LP thing with, like, fucking 15-minute tracks and shit. Mine's the straight-up one, but I think they're both pretty cool.
They're so
pretty cool sets. Yeah.
Mondo... I wish we could put in, like, the website or something. I wish we could I guess it's just mondo.com.
Well, if we could put it in there, we're not getting paid for this or anything like that. It's not a proper ad spot, but it's kind of a de facto ad spot of sorts. But
they put out the best, like, LPs.
I will say, soon as a Wakanda Forever one goes up, my ass is there.
Absolutely, day one.
I just want it. Like, I'm tempted to go on eBay and get the one for the first movie, but I'm like, I could just get the regular version for like $18 on Amazon or something like that.
Oh,
but it doesn't compare. It's just not the same quality. It really isn't.
Anyway. And not to get into the weeds, but we were riding back from the doctor's appointment.
We're already in the weeds. Let's just take a dive.
Rihanna came on the radio this morning.
All right.
On our way back from the doctors, and it was the fucking...
Oh, was it Lift Me Up?
Lift Me Up and Hold Me Down. Song. Oh.
Tears?
What just what a fucking... I let go of the steering wheel, and I did Wakanda Forever. Like, while I was driving. It's like, so fucking good.
Incredible. Absolutely incredible.
It's good.
Right. It's very good. It's very good. We must move on. We must talk some headlines. Headlines. We are going to talk about a few interesting things. Well, at least I'm going to tell you about a few interesting things, and you can tell me if they're interesting or if you don't give a fuck. It's totally up to you. It's how it goes.
Fair enough.
Is how this segment works. So, let's kick it off with Wind River getting a sequel called Wind River: The Next Chapter. It is to be directed by Kari Skogland. It will have absolutely zero involvement from Taylor Sheridan, as far as I'm aware. It's going to pick up as terror has escalated on the Wind River Reservation as a series of ritualistic murders remain unsolved. The FBI enlists a minor character from the first one that is not Jeremy Renner, nor is it Elizabeth Olsen, who becomes embroiled in a desperate and dangerous fight between the authorities, a vigilante, and the reservation he calls home. It's to be written by Patrick Massett and John Zenman, who worked together on the Tomb Raider and Friday Night Lights screenplays.
Christ almighty.
And Kari Skogland, director, most recently worked on The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. She directed that series in its entirety. So feels a lot like Sicario 2 of let's just take some vague elements that worked and make a sequel that's loosely, I guess, related. I don't know. But it's coming. Wind River: The Next Chapter. And then 20th Century is developing a new Alien film. Another Alien film, that's right.
Okay.
And it is not going to be directed by Ridley Scott. Thank Christ.
Okay.
Fede Alvarez is going to be directing, who directed the Evil Dead remake.
Okay.
Rebootquel, however you want to classify it, along with Don't Breathe in 2016 and The Girl in the Spider's Web. And the lead character is going to be portrayed by Cailee Spaney, who she was like the main lead in Pacific Rim Uprising. She had a brief role in Bad Times at the El Royale, and she was in Devs. I think she was the one that played the boy, I think.
Okay.
Lyndon, and then she was also the girl that was killed in Mare of Easttown. So, she's been in a few things, and that's the news. It is going to be produced by Ridley Scott's production company, Scott Free. So, I mean, he's probably vaguely involved, I would guess. But But it's moving forward. So that's that. What is not moving forward, apparently, at least as of right now, is the Fantastic Beasts franchise. It appears that 3 is just enough, and mostly because they keep making less and less money. The most recent one, Secrets of Dumbledore, cost $200 million, landed just $400 million globally in terms of box office, which is not amazing. It's the first film of the entire Harry Potter franchise, including obviously the mainline films plus the Fantastic Beasts films, to just barely break even in its theatrical run. So no script has been written for a 4th or 5th entry in the franchise. They were waiting to see how the 3rd one did before they kind of, went full steam ahead. And so right now nothing's really happening with it. So at best, if they do another one, it won't be for a few years. And at worst, which perhaps, if you ask me, is probably not the worst idea, is they're done with it. Plenty of other things they could do with the Harry Potter franchise, I'm sure. TV shows and whatever. We got the video game coming out, I think early next year. So I don't think it's the end of Harry Potter in terms of film, TV landscape, but perhaps it's the end of the Fantastic Beasts franchise, which I say is fine if that is how it indeed turns out. So, moving on. Show called Limitless premiered on Disney Plus. It's like Chris Hemsworth doing like healthy things and shit. And apparently in one of the episodes, he revealed that he has a genetic predisposition for Alzheimer's disease, which is something that his grandfather suffered from, makes it 8 to 10 times more likely that he will develop the disease. And so basically he's announced that he's going to be taking some time away from acting to spend that time with his family. It's not a for sure thing that he'll develop the disease, but I think he's reevaluating the priorities in his life and he's maybe spending months away from family. Filming shit is not the way to spend that time, is kind of how he sees it. So he's stepping away from acting. I mean, I'm sure we'll still get another Thor appearance at some point before long, but I think good on him to take that time away and spend the time doing what matters to him. So, and hopefully nothing comes of the predisposition. Hopefully it is just that, just a predisposition, but, still certainly alarming for him, I would imagine. And then last but not least on the headlines front, shocking news at Disney. Bob Chapek, the bald-headed man, he's out. Bob Chapek has been ousted as the Disney CEO. And wouldn't you know it, back in. It's Bob Iger. His predecessor, Bob Iger, is back at Disney for another 3-year term. And
he's back, baby.
He's back.
Bob's back.
Bob's out and then Bob's back in is basically how it is. It's all these motherfucking Bobs, these rich ass Bobs. One's a bald head guy. One's got hair. That's the difference. And also one apparently sucked at his fucking job to get fired. Basically,
well, that's what happens when you go against Pappy. What the fuck's his Ron? Pappy Ron. He wants to fight Ron DeSantis over all the shit.
But he didn't want to fight Ron. Was the problem? He had to be coerced into fighting Ron, I think, was one of the issues. Because I think he's a big fan of Ron. He's like, I don't disagree with Ron anything. I love this Ron guy, and we're like, yeah, but it's not really the kind of look that you want to have for this major company. He's like, oh yeah, I don't like Ron. I don't like this thing anymore. So,
and then Ron's like, what the fuck are you doing, Bob? I thought we were friends.
Yeah.
I'm gonna fucking take away all your tax exemptions.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm gonna make all of my residents pay for it now. What? Okay.
That's it.
Good for you. Oh, I mean, hey, it did not backfire in any way whatsoever. If anything, I think his margins might have increased in the most recent election. Florida, it's fully a red state now. Embrace it, I guess.
Happy Ron.
But yeah, I mean, Chapek basically, I think the things that led to his ouster, aside from the handling of Ron and the anti-LGBTQ plus legislation in Florida, the shit fit with Scarlett Johansson wasn't a good look. I think he's pissed off a lot of people that are fans of parks. He's pissed off employees. He's pissed off all the right people, or all the wrong people, I guess, depending on your perspective. And I think they basically were just ready to hit the reset button say, let's get this guy out of here and try to figure, try to steer the ship right, back in the right direction, it seems like. And who better to do that than the guy that was doing a pretty good job that everyone seemed to appreciate when he was doing it for many, many years before Bob, the other Bob, stepped in. So, Bob Chapek obviously had somewhat a short end of the stick of the pandemic happening, but it does seem like in spite of that, his performance was not up to muster for the higher ups at Disney, to the point where they're literally backtracking from renewing the other guy's contract a few months back earlier in the year to being like, yeah, actually you're fired. So it is what it is. I think it's not a bad thing in my assessment. I think Bob Iger is in fact the superior Bob, but alas, here we stand. So those are the headlines. Any thoughts you want to chime in on? Wind River, Alien, Fantastic Beasts, Chris Hemsworth, Bob Iger / Chapek. Anything in there?
Yeah. So I'll just get my opinions running down these fucking headlines. Kari Skogland to direct the Wind River thing that nobody else is attached to. Just make your own fucking IP and leave Wind River out of it. That's about the way I feel of it. Just Wind River's not. Yeah, Wind River was too good of a movie to try to like. Let's do this and attach Wind River on it. Mm-hmm. No, leave it alone. Leave it alone.
Every project on a Native American reservation. Oh, it's got to be Wind River now. It's a franchise now, man. Like,
yeah, leave it alone. And then on top of that, you're gonna have like these ritualistic murders and shit. It's like, you're kind of like, I feel like you're kind of like demonizing Native Americans. Like, it was like, leave it alone. Anyways, that's the way I feel about that.
Yeah, that's fair.
Cailee Spaney to lead new Alien film at 20th Century Fox. It's not 20th Century Fox though anymore, is it? It's just 20th Century.
Just 20th Century Studios. Yeah, is that weird?
I'm game for a new Alien movie. I like the Alien franchise, and I would love to have a good Alien movie. And it sounds like the guy that's behind it, he's got some good chops. So if anybody could do it, he could do it. So as long as the suits stay out and you let the creative forces, do what they want to do, I think you probably have something good on your hands there. Fantastic Beast films in Limbo. Yeah, it's okay. Let the dead lie. It's done. Let's move on. Chris Hemsworth taking time off acting. Yeah, good for him. I mean, if he wants, whatever
he can afford to do it, and it's I mean,
that's about the way I feel about it. Whatever he wants to do. I mean, if he wants to be in a movie,
life,
let him.
Man, live your life.
Yeah, it's exactly it. Live your life. I'm not gonna whatever you want to do, dude. It's cool. And then Bob.
Which one? Which Bob? Come on,
well,
clarify.
Bob, the Bob with hair. The Bob with hair is coming back in.
Bob with hair, yeah.
I'm good with the Bob with hair.
People with hair are superior, I guess.
Oh yeah.
Is that what this is?
But yeah, it's exactly what it's a hair thing.
My genetics are better than yours. I haven't lost my hair yet.
Bob's coming back in. Get the fuck out of here, Bob. They're both Bob. Yeah. Anyways, that's cool.
White guy's named Bob. Rich white guy's named Bob. It's just pick whoever you like better, I guess.
I don't know. We'll get better. We got better Disney movies out of Bob Iger than we did Bob Chapek. I think we got better movies, right? We got better movies out of Bob Iger than we did the other Bob.
Yeah, I mean, I think overall, probably, yeah.
Okay, yeah, then good. Good riddance. Get out of here, Bob.
I think another thing that Chapek did is he basically said that like animated things aren't for adults, and everyone was just like, "You've just pissed off
Bob."
Every Disney adult, and also just like everyone in general. It's just like, I don't know. I mean, it's such a classic thing to be like, oh, it's animated, so it's for kids. And it's like, if you're the head of Disney, that should not be your fucking like thing that you're saying. Like, you should not be fundamentally misunderstanding the thing that you apparently are in charge of.
Yeah, Bob Chapek's a dick. We don't want him anyways. So he's out.
He always did kind of seem like a prick. Like, just in general, like, this guy fucking sucks. Like, you know, like, I mean, again, all right, we're talking about rich millionaire CEO types, and like, not that I'm a huge fan of any of them, but like, some of them at least seem to have like a decent head on their shoulders, and like, oh no, I actually do kind of care about the thing that
like Kevin's a fun dude. Kevin's a fun dude.
Kevin Feige's a rich fucking guy. All right, maybe he wasn't at one point. Maybe he's built himself up to this point, but like, he seems level-headed. Seems relatable.
I'd hang out with Kevin. Yeah, I'd hang out with fucking Kevin. But
at the end of the day, he just seems like he's a comic book nerd who's just happened to do it enough that he got rich doing it, you know? But it hasn't gone to his head necessarily either, so I don't know. Yeah. Chapek seemed like a fucking suit. He always seemed like a suit. That's, you know.
He's a suit. Go over to Sony,
know what
dude.
That means. Like, yeah, okay,
Sony's got a job for you.
But yeah, Sony just run by nothing but fucking suits. Like the suitiest of the suits over there, basically.
Yeah, just go over there, Bob. They got a job for you. What the fuck you doing over here at Disney? People at Disney love fucking cartoons, you ass wipe. Anyways, he's out.
He's out. Yeah. Fuck him. Left on the doorstep. Didn't even let him pack his desk. They just chucked it out the window.
Get the fuck out of here, Bob.
Hit the cartoon red button and everything just ejected out of his fucking his office. Fell through a vault. Got deposited on the doorstep.
It's what's it called? Style. The fuck's that movie with Jessica Rabbit?
Roger Rabbit?
Yeah, Roger Rabbit style. Get the fuck out of here, Bob. They hit the big red button and all the shit goes.
You know, it was all the tunes. You know, he said something about like tunes aren't for fucking adults, and all the tunes turn around, look at the camera, and be like, "Son of a bitch, he's got to go. He's got to go."
True life.
Anyway,
we can talk about these trailers, though. What do we got for trailers?
Yeah, we're gonna reverse things because we're gonna bring Anna in to talk about some of the latter news that we have to finish out the news section. But so we're gonna start with two animated trailers, because fuck you, Bob. We're gonna talk about some animated things, even though we are adults. Bob Chapek. Let me clarify for my own purposes there. You know. Pixar's making movies. Fucking the other one's not a Disney one, but this one's a Disney. It's a Disney and Pixar one. The first one we're talking about. It's a teaser trailer for a film called Elemental.
It didn't seem very fucking kiddie either to me.
It did not seem very kiddie. I would agree. It's got flashy colors, you know, and like cool animation, and like, you know, like the designs are cutesy. But I feel like, as with like especially every recent Pixar thing, it's like, you could, like, if you strip away the animation, like, visage of all these, they're just, like, fucking adult scripts, you know? Like, just shit written by adults, for adults, probably principally, with a few jokes peppered in to keep it light enough for kids to laugh here and there, you know? Which is not how a lot of, like, there's a lot of exclusively children's films, I think, that are, like, let's write to a child first, and then hopefully it's not miserable enough for the parent to just, you know, fucking suffer the whole time. Pixar's approach is very much not that. And I agree, this one doesn't feel like it's meant to be exclusively for children or anything like that. As I guess the Pixar team was making this in spite of Bob Chapek or something like that. But anyway, I mean, how'd you feel about it? It's a teaser, you know. It's kind of a singular setting kind of thing.
It felt very
get a little bit here, but.
What's the movie that came out a little bit ago with the Afterlife?
Oh, Soul.
Yeah, it felt very soulish to me.
I agree. Yeah, that's an interesting thing. I wonder.
It just
like a lot of Pixar projects, I feel like, I want to say recycle, but I feel like a lot of the same people are involved with some of them. So I'm curious to see if there's any crossover.
Well, just the
prior projects.
I don't know the song that was being played, but it was a very mature song. it resonated with me. And just the way the character kind of seemed to be secluded in like her own, like she had her hoodie on, she had her music on, and she's secluded in this place of like a whirlwind of things going on. And then the water guy kind of like breaks that moment, right? And then she's like, "Hey, I'm Wade," and I don't know, it just seems like a very mature movie. And the way that the music is kind of like interwoven into the storytelling, it just seems very soulish to me. But it seems good. I don't know. I'm excited about it. I'll watch it.
No surprises. The animation looks incredible. I think obviously one of the fun things that Pixar has is the ability to just like, make it in any setting that they want. So here it's like, all right, well, like let's play with like particles, and like so we got like we got wind people, or and then we got fire people, and we got water people, and yes, literally elements that they're playing with. But it's like one of those things where just like you can make that look really fucking visually interesting and cool. And an animated setting like this, which would be very difficult to achieve in any other way other than this kind of full 3D animation. So it's really cool to see them kind of leaning into that, which I think Soul had elements of that too, like the disparity between the real life kind of setting and the Soul world kind of setting. And Soul was like a really, really interesting visual dichotomy they established there. I don't know enough about the story here other than it seems to be some sort of maybe romantic thing that, I don't know, it gives me like Your Name vibes, or, like a chance encounter on a train kind of thing. Like I assume there's something to the relationship that drives this movie, I would guess, but we really don't know a whole lot. But I like enough what I saw without, like, there's not enough here for me to get stoked about it, but I have faith in Pixar. I looked it up. The director of this is Peter Sohn, who has actually only directed The Good Dinosaur for Pixar recently.
Oh,
previously.
Stop it. That's a good one.
I didn't see that one. I never actually saw that one. I feel like it was kind of I think it came out the same year as Inside Out, and it kind of got buried of those two Pixar films. I think Inside Out really kind of dwarfed it. But
and the guy that plays Water is the guy from Archive 81, which is the
okay. Yeah, the Netflix one that got canceled.
Yeah,
because that's all they do is cancel shit, except for Stranger Things, I guess. I don't know. And the Jeffrey Dahmer one, I think they've renewed that one for
no, they did not.
Not for more Jeffrey Dahmer things, but for more serial killer shit. I think they've. So like we're gonna make more monster series, Monster 2. But this guy, he's part of the Pixar senior creative team. Looks like since Inside Out came out, so he's a Pixar mainstay. So yeah, I mean, it makes sense that if this has elements of Soul, he probably had some involvement in that. And it was like, hey, that was pretty fucking cool. Let me take some elements of that worked and put it in my thing. So yeah, June 16th of 2023 is when this is coming out. It looks like a theatrical release. I think maybe they're over the Disney Plus release thing, but yeah, Elemental is coming out. Any other thoughts on it?
No, I'm excited about it. Looks cool.
All right. Well, then let's talk about the other animated project, almost certainly for kids too, but I think also for adults who grew up with this franchise. We have an official trailer, not a teaser anymore. It's a full-blown trailer this time for the Super Mario Bros. Movie. We got a lot more footage. We got a lot more. We got Donkey Kong. We got Luigi. We got Charlie Day talking in this one, not just making Luigi noises and shit. He's not just doing that. We got a lot of Peach. I don't think we got Peach last time, so we got a lot of Peach here. We got fucking Mario Kart at the end too. We got some Rainbow Road.
Yes.
Shit. So I think this looks fucking hilarious and great. I'm very excited for this. Do you agree with me or disagree?
I am 120% on the same page as you. There was so Sarah's sister is talking to this guy. We were over at their house last night.
Okay.
And he texts her and he says, "Have you seen the Mario trailer?" And he says, I have some things to say about it. And Shannon asked me if I've seen it. I was like, no, I mean, I saw the one a few months ago. Did they come out with a new one? And like, she's like, yeah, apparently. And so I watched it. And then she's told me what he said. I was like, what the fuck does he have to say? He's coming in all aggressive about Mario? Like, the expectations I have for a Mario movie are as deep as a spoon, right? And this looks outstanding compared to what I've been given before for a Mario movie, right? So I am very excited about this movie. I think it looks outstanding. I think it looks well animated. I could not be happier with the cast that got on board for it. Even the first one, a lot of people were giving grief about Chris Pratt's voice for Mario and stuff. And it's like, whatever.
I mean, I still feel the same way in the sense that, like, he's not really given us anything besides Chris Pratt, but at the same time, no one, I mean, like, Jack Black feels like the only one, like, they kind of did a little something, and everyone else is kind of themselves, more or less. It's just that, like, the other ones make more sense for the character, whereas generic Chris Pratt as a generic Mario is kind of uninspired, I guess.
And who do you get for a generic Mario? Like, who's your Mario guy? Who's your go-to?
Charles Martinet. Bring him in. Give him some more voice lines. Yeah. No, I mean, I get it. You want your character to have a voice. All these characters clearly talk. They're not just, making noises and shit, Nintendo style, like how all those characters do. So I get it. I just, at least let him do a fucking shitty Italian accent.
Woohoo! And he does. He does a little bit, right? Like
he does the bare minimum.
He does the bare minimum.
Chris Pratt plus like 1%. Like New York accent or Italian accent, like it's 1%.
1%. Woohoo! I bet
that's not even him. I bet that's not even him at the end. They probably just subbed in Charles Martinet for all the sounds.
That's totally okay. I don't give a shit.
That's okay. He's fine. It doesn't bother me. This movie looks like too much fun. I don't care about Chris Pratt. I don't care about Mario's lack of ass at this point. Right. It looks like good fun. Mario's getting the shit beaten out of him by Donkey Kong. That's great. Peach's girl boss. She's going girl boss. It's it looks like a shit ton of fun, and that's what I want out of it. And it feels like it's not in the way that obviously the live action one like took elements of the game and then kind of just bastardized them. Like I'm sorry, but those fucking Goombas, like what the fuck, And then Toad is this fucking idiot with the guitar, and then like the Bub-Bombs are like these little tiny little, like there's some goofy ass shit in there, and Bowser like Koopa,
that's what my expectations, what I've been given for a Mario movie. This is what I've been given for a Mario movie.
Yeah, right.
Is that right? So
why would you do any of this?
If you give me anything else, I'm okay, right?
Yeah, so, and this is certainly better than that, but I think a step beyond that, like it feels like it's taking a lot of the video gamey elements and like they look right. You know what I mean? Like Toads look like Toads, Peach looks like Peach. Everyone looks like they should look, but still like different enough that it doesn't just feel like a video game cutscene. But it's got like you can see like the fire plant. You can see Mario's in a Tanuki suit at some point. You got the fucking flying fish, clapping on his face, and
you got Peach getting the fire out of the plant, which was awesome.
That's what I'm saying. And then like, you see like almost like a platformy bit where like Mario sucks at it, but it looks like the thing from the game. Like it feels like
it's
they're
a
actually
celebration
using the design elements
of everything that's
from the franchise.
Mario.
Yeah,
right.
Like it doesn't feel like they're just taking stupid elements of it and like just doing their own thing.
And if that celebration is less of an Italian sounding Mario or whatever, that's totally okay by me. You know what I mean? It's a celebration of everything Mario. So I'm excited about it. I think it looks great.
This is one I'm excited for it. I enjoyed elements. I thought like the animation looked really great in that first teaser and it seemed fun, but this got me more sold on it. I think even more so than the teaser did.
I think I might watch this maybe at like a 10:30 showing at a movie theater, so all the kids are going to bed.
Okay, 10:30 p.m., not a.m. All right.
Or maybe 10:30 a.m. Yeah, maybe that might be a good one. Yeah, exactly. See which one has less kids.
Well, I can tell you that it's coming out April 7th, 2023, and I am looking forward to it. I'm very much looking forward to it, I'll say. So yeah, Super Mario Bros. Movie, it is coming, courtesy of Illumination and Nintendo. So that brings us to talking about Star Wars. And
no way. What?
Wouldn't you know it? I have someone with me who is going to join us now who likes a little thing called Star Wars. And she wanted to be included for these next pieces of news because she might have a thing or two to say about them. So without further ado, I introduce to the podcast, to everyone listening, the one, the only, Anna Mattis.
Sup?
Hey!
I'm here to talk about nerd shit.
Nerd shit. Oh, yes. That we can do. Star Wars, Game of Thrones, Lord of the Rings. In that order. Sort of
those things.
Vaguely.
Not really.
Vaguely, I guess, some of those things. But yeah, well, let's talk Star Wars right now. Couple, really 3 pieces of news. I kind of bundled one of them together. But the first piece of news is Lucasfilm's Star Wars. They've released the cast for the original series called The Acolyte, which is going to be the first live action, or I guess even anything foray into the High Republic era beyond books, comic books and stuff. And the cast is going to include, I'll just read it off. There's a nice little graphic for anyone that's following along. It's got Amandla Stenberg, Lee Jung-jae, Manny Jacinto, Daphne Keane, Jodie Turner-Smith, Rebecca Henderson, Charlie Barnett, Dean Charles Chapman, and Carrie Ann Moss. Of course, a few recognizable names in there, I think, overall.
At least one.
At least one. Who's the one? Is it Trinity?
Carrie Ann.
Is it Trinity?
It's Carrie. Yeah, Carrie Ann Moss. It's the only one I know.
Okay, well, there's also Amandla Stenberg. You don't know Amandla Stenberg?
Who's that?
Oh, Jesus Christ.
What'd she do?
A lot of things.
Well, what I can tell you is...
I was gonna...
Oh, go ahead.
Amandla Stenberg was in The Hunger Games, and also she was excellent in The Hate You Give. Manny Jacinto was in The Good Place.
Yeah, The Good Place.
Fantastic.
He's not. I was going to reference because they have their own little cheat sheet here of what they've done. Like I guess what they're most notable for. But
I feel like Daphne Keane's been in other stuff besides his Dark Materials too.
She's fucking X-23 in Logan.
Yep, there you go.
So
is that X-23 in Logan?
Yep.
And she was in the fucking Materials movie.
That's right.
Show. Okay.
Yeah.
Jodie Turner-Smith, who also was in that Anne Boleyn show, which I never ended up watching, but also Queen and Slim. Mm-hmm. I don't actually know Rebecca Henderson.
I don't either.
Don't recognize that person at all. Charlie Barnett, I know his face. I've definitely seen him and stuff, even if I haven't watched Russian Doll. Dean Charles Chapman, obviously, from 1917, and then obviously Carrie Ann Moss.
And Game of Thrones. Double role in Game of Thrones.
That's right, because he was Tommen. Tommen and the unnamed Lannister cousin who got murdered.
That's right.
Like 2 seasons prior to Tommen being king.
So, they put out a behind-the-scenes image. Cool. Okay, fine, whatever.
Okay, that's about what I say about
it. It's described as a mystery thriller that will take viewers into a galaxy of shadowy secrets and emerging dark side powers in the final days of the High Republic era. And something else came out more recently that the cast was announced a little while ago. Basically, Daphne Kane was asked about it. She basically said it's set 100 years before the prequels, the Star Wars prequels, and it's about it's effectively an explanation for how the Sith infiltrated the Jedi. It's a Sith-led story, she says, which has never been done before. So there's your sizzle for that. Your little quote.
Plagueis.
Could be.
No, it has to be that timeline.
Well, I don't know.
I didn't know it was only 100 years. It really is. So that's quite a bit later than
the rest of the High Republic. This is like the very tail end.
This will be the last thing of the High Republic.
Right. Exactly. Okay. That's the idea.
Interesting.
I guess all the other gaps will be filled by the multimedia project that they've embarked upon. So
I've still only read that first book, but it was really good.
Yeah.
It's very interesting.
I've read none of them despite owning several. Co-owning several.
Lot.
But yeah.
Okay, next thing.
The Acolyte is coming.
Next thing.
Probably a couple of years.
Next thing.
The next thing is a bundle of news. As we all know, Lucasfilm always has many balls in the air. They always hire people to make Star Wars things, and 90% of those don't seem to pan out. So we'll see if these two projects indeed shake out. But there's two separate Star Wars films in development. One is going to be directed by Shawn Levy, who is tackling the upcoming Deadpool 3, and also recently did Free Guy for Disney as well. Yeah. So that's one part of the news. Will this just have Ryan Reynolds being in Star Wars? Probably.
It has to be.
Probably, yeah. Would be my guess. So hey, good for him. You know, if I got hired to do a Star Wars movie, I'd be thrilled.
Okay.
The big one, at least as far as Anna is concerned, I think,
hyped,
is that a secret Star Wars film from Damon Lindelof has been in development with Charmine Obaid-Chinoy as the director. She did, I believe, a couple episodes of Ms. Marvel recently, the Disney Plus series. And Damon Lindelof of obviously Lost fame, of more recently Watchmen, the HBO series fame, The Leftovers fame. Any other fames that we should shout out Lindelof for? I think he's a pretty recognizable name. But you're the Lost person in the room here. In addition to the Game of Thrones and in addition to the Lord of the Rings person in the room right now. So the figurative room.
Am I the biggest nerd here? I'm not the biggest.
Whoa.
I'm not the biggest geek. I'm not the biggest geek, but I might be the biggest nerd.
So anyway, given your perspective on Damon Lindelof and your feelings on Lost.
I love him.
Yeah.
I love Lost. I think that the finale wasn't perfect, but like whatever is. But I also think that the people who shit on the Lost finale and talk about how it's so bad and blah, 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 there's like, I'm not really going to say it, but like,
they can kind of suck a dick.
I'll just say they're idiots. They're idiots. The way I know whether the conversation is worth having is I ask them, okay, based on the finale, do you think that they were in purgatory for the whole series? Depending on their answer, I know that they weren't fucking paying attention and they're goddamn morons and their opinion means nothing. Now, I've never had someone answer it correctly who doesn't like Lindelof. So that's my take on that, because I think that always kind of follows him and Carlton Cuse. And I've seen the series multiple times. It's my favorite show. It's so good. It's not perfect. I think there's a lot of people like, they didn't answer all the questions. Yeah, no shit. Like, they only got a final season. They only had so much time. Like, this was not the era of Game of Thrones and honestly, House of Cards is the one I always think of for Netflix, where they get however many episodes they need and however long those episodes need to be. Like, it was on ABC. Like, it was really limited. And they did a really great job with what they had. Obviously, Watchmen was incredible, even if you're like some fanboy who's
really fucking
mad that
even
it's
if you're
different from
Alan
the
Moore
book.
and you refuse to watch it because you're fucking Alan Moore.
Is also fucking
he's an old hermit.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm really excited for this as someone who loves like all of Lindelof's projects, loves Star Wars. I'm really excited about the director too. I think that's awesome. This kind of feels like a project made for me, so I'm very, very hyped. I'm very excited for it.
Andrew, do you feel any sort of similar hype?
Yeah,
just Star Wars is cool, man.
Star Wars is cool, man. I'll watch it until it sucks, and I'll still watch it even if it sucks.
You'll just bitch about it.
But here's
right?
the thing, though. Remember Damon Lindelof, and like Lost, he was never going to keep it going just for the network. It was ended because of the network. But Watchmen, they wanted him to do a second season. And he said no. Because he said it's not a good enough story. This is a good ending. If in a few years down the line I think of a different idea that I think is worth bringing it back, we can consider it. But I'm not going to do another season just for the sake of doing another season.
We got a beginning, a middle, and an end.
He has creative integrity. So I don't think this is something you have to worry about it starting good and falling off a cliff. Sure. He knows. Yeah.
And when you know it, Watchmen had some questions that weren't answered by the end either.
Oh my God. God forbid we have a creative thought and think about what happens beyond the end of something. God, Jesus.
I must be told everything. Spoon feed it to me. Right now.
Spoon feed it to me, he says.
Yeah.
And then get mad that it wasn't the thing you envisioned, which is what most people's problem is with the sequel trilogy of Star Wars. Anyway, is that it for news?
That's it for the news.
Great, let's jump into it.
Well, all right. Wow. Johnny on the spot
Fucking
here.
Moving you guys along here. Let's go.
House of the Dragon is where we will begin. All episodes streaming exclusively on HBO Max. Created by George R.R. Martin and Ryan Condal. Based on Fire and Blood by George R.R. Martin. Starring.
Okay, you better do this real quick.
Starring.
Go ahead.
Patty Considine, Matt Smith, Emma Darcy, Millie Alcock, Rhys Evans, Steve Toussaint, Eve Best, Sonoya Mizuno, Fabian Frankel, Olivia Cook, Emily
Carey, Graham McTavish, Matthew Needham, Jefferson Hall, Harry Collett, Tom Glencairney, Ewan Mitchell, Fia Sabin, Bethany Antonia, and Phoebe Campbell.
It's about an eternal succession war within House Targaryen at the height of its power, 172 years before the birth of Daenerys Targaryen. Now, before we get into a non-spoiler coverage, I should preface this conversation by saying it is not the first attempt at having a non-spoiler conversation about House of the Dragon. It did not go well the first time.
No.
So we're hoping that take two is a little bit of a cleaner effort all around. So, with that little nugget of information.
the wine bearer was strong on the first one.
Who wants to kick this off? Who has a few things to say about House of the Dragon?
Me.
Okay.
I will preface with saying I had really, really low expectations for this show. I actually said I was not going to watch it, which obviously I did. But I wasn't excited about it. I just kind of had lost my trust in this franchise after how fucking horrendous the final season of Game of Thrones was. I think probably we can say without a doubt that it's just Benioff and Weiss are fucking hacks. So
yes, I'd agree with that.
Yeah, I feel like I can now say that with confidence. Thank God we are free of them and their terrible ideas. So yeah, I had read part of Fire and Blood, the textbook-esque book that George R.R. Martin wrote that this is based on, maybe 6 years ago, I think, ish. And I stopped because it was really fucking boring because it's a textbook. I mean, that's how it's written.
It's textbook on
characters.
What's the?
So it's on the Targaryens. Yeah. So it starts with Aegon the Conqueror,
the very first
Targaryen of Westeros, coming over, and so a lot of it is he set up camp here. They had camp here for 3 weeks. Then they went and fought this battle, and at this battle, this person died. And at this one, if you've ever looked at the early books of the Bible that are just names of just this person married this person, they had these kids, and their first kid had these kids, and their second kid had these, it's just names.
That's that.
Maybe not quite to that extent, but it's similar.
The Westerosi Bible of Targaryens.
Yeah. So I read, I don't know how much of it. I was listening to it on an audiobook. It got really fucking boring.
Oh, Jesus, that sounds even worse.
Actually, I think I was trying to do both, if I recall correctly, because there was a time in my job where shit was boring and I didn't have anything to do, so I would just read books at my desk. So I had some kind of background there. I have since gone back, since finishing the first season of the show, and I've read past where the first season ends. Basically, I've read to where I think the second season will end, and then I've stopped. There's still more stuff that I know that it happens from other Game of Thrones shit and from the internet. But I kind of have that background as well of comparing it to the book. But yeah, I had really low expectations, and I thought it was great. I was really pleasantly surprised. I think when you have, a show like this where you kind of know what ultimately happens, it's hard to keep it engaging, but I really thought they did. I thought the characters were interesting. I thought the performances were great. I thought the sets, the costume, all of the design was fantastic. I thought the writing was really good. I was unsure how I would feel about the, mid-season recasting of certain characters. I suppose some of them were recast even earlier than that, like the kids had a couple different castings. But I thought the casting was excellent. I thought it was really well done. I think probably everyone has talked about how the wigs were hit or miss. Some of those wigs were atrocious.
Very mess. Yeah, very mess.
Yeah. But some were really good. I think Rhaenyra, adult Rhaenyra wig in particular was really good. I think especially like when you kind of see, Emma Darcy, the actor who plays like older Rhaenyra, they have like short hair, like bleached eyebrows, like they look so different from Rhaenyra. I just think that the wig they chose for elder Rhaenyra, really kind of transformed Emma Darcy, and I think that one was really good. The Matt Smith wigs, that's another story. Most of those were pretty fucking terrible.
It's really when they're trying to do the same, I feel like, wig that they did with
Viserys,
from
Viserys
the first season of Game of Thrones, and then they recycled that wig for his older brother Rhaegar, and like that was like the established Targaryen wig look. And so I think as long as they deviated from that is when it looked better here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the even the shoulder length hair, which was more similar to Rhaegar, I felt like that was better. Rhaenys's was not great. I don't really know what was going on there.
I don't know if it was a styling or that it didn't help. At least I would say
made her look. It was like Marie Antoinette-esque, like the hive.
Oh yeah.
Look.
Okay.
It was not great, but I thought it was really good. I think it's tricky because I think I know people who are like, I'm not watching that because like I'm sick of the incest and the violence, and like it is really fucking violent. It's really fucking brutal.
It's very incesty.
Lots of incest.
Probably more so than Game of Thrones because of the Targaryen focus.
Yeah. But it's also less, I don't know.
It's a little less rapey, I think, right?
Well, for sure.
Yeah.
But I also think that, listen, incest, bad. Always bad. Like, this is not a defensive incest.
I'm from West Virginia, I know, yeah.
But, oh, Lord. But I do think even within the confines of this world, the incest that we're talking about within this show versus Game of Thrones is within that world far more accepted than, say, Lannister incest. Yeah. There's this idea that the Targaryens, as like being Egyptians, from old Valyria, that they're closer to the gods, that their blood is different, and like dragon because blood. Right, it's the dragon blood, like because only they can ride dragons, only although Valyrians can too, but that blood is stronger, that of course it's all nonsense, but I don't know what the fucking biology of this magical world is, whatever, but within the universe itself, this incest is not frowned upon. I think it's still implied very much that like there are still some of the like neurological and like
totally implied, right?
Developmental issues that exist in our reality as well. I mean, the whole flipping a coin Targaryen madness or greatness, I think, kind of goes to that. But I felt that in Game of Thrones itself, the incest is very much like, I don't know, it's voyeuristic. Like it's playing up like, oh my god, can you believe this brother and sister are fucking each other? And here it's just like, yeah, they're fucking. Okay, move on.
That's also because
it's not really the point.
It's because they came from a different area, right? So like all the Westeros people are like, and all the other, and then the Targaryens are like, this is just what we do. This, right. So.
Well, and there was a whole two kings like before this. There was like a whole fight over whether or not it was like okay for brother and sister to marry, and there was a whole war fought over that too. And then
that'll be another
the
prequel.
Guy who was the king just ended up having like 3 wives by force. So it was like, which one is worse? They're both bad. But yeah, I really thought it was great, and I think especially given my really low expectations, I was very surprised by how much I liked it, how much I wanted to keep watching, how much I wanted to watch the next episode, and how excited I am for season 2.
Yeah, I mean, Andrew, you and I obviously we chatted about several of the trailers that came out. I feel like the final trailer was the only one that felt like, oh, maybe there is a reason for this to exist. But I still imagine that you stepping in to watch it had low expectations. So I'm curious what your take is.
Excuse me. Expectations were in the dirt. I was not, to be honest with you, I feel like I was not going to watch this. I had no intentions to watch it. Enrique watched it. I think you started it. And you guys had pleasant things to say about it. I still wasn't going to watch it. And then one of Sarah's coworkers had watched it, and she doesn't know anybody else that watched it, and so she didn't have anybody to talk to about it. So I was like, all right, fuck it. Everybody else has watched it. Let me go ahead and watch this thing. And the goal, and we were supposed to go. It's real fucked up. We were supposed to go to brunch Sunday morning, and then I was supposed to talk to her about the show. Right?
At that point, I think 8-ish episodes were out at that point, I think, right? Something like that.
8.
It wasn't quite done, but it was like...
But it was gonna be done on the Friday, right? It was season...
Sunday.
It was gonna be done on the Sunday, is that what it was? Okay.
It aired on Sunday, so maybe that was it. It was like the morning of the final episode.
Yeah, and so I had not watched anything until like Tuesday or Wednesday. And then she drops it on me that, I don't have anybody to talk to about the show and the finale's coming up or whatever. So I watched every episode, and I was in time for the finale, and then she didn't even come to the brunch. Yeah, totally fucked up. Yeah, real bad. So I watched this at a very, very fast pace. I think largely to its detriment. I think that this is a show that probably needs to be aired out a little bit because otherwise it feels monotonous. For me, my experience with this show is it's a couple of bookend sequences, right? There's episodes that really stick out for me as memorable moments in the show. And how many episodes is this? Oh, is it 8?
10. Yeah.
10?
10.
Okay.
10.
For me, it feels like a 4-episode show, maybe. You know what I mean? Because there's just big sequences that I remember, and the rest of it feels like monotony. There's a lot of real big character moments. There's a lot of like the interactions between Rhaenyra's and Hightower, the Hightower daughter.
Rhaenyra
Rhaenyra
and
Allison.
Yes.
There we go. Those two.
Names you're
yes.
looking for.
Those two. Yes. I think those two leads are wonderful.
The leads of the show.
Yes.
The main characters.
Both
of the show.
as they're teen actresses and they're
adult actors.
Yes.
Actors.
Not okay.
Actors.
I think
Emma Darcy is non-binary.
okay. I did not know that. They are wonderful. Both of them. All 4 of these people.
All 4.
Yes.
Yeah.
All 4 are
It's
excellent.
very fun. I don't know if you see, there's like some really fun pictures of like the 4 of them hanging out. And it's like a weird, like casually, not like doing press junkets or whatever, but just like hanging out or like getting drinks. And it's just like such a weird like image to wrap your head around of like the 2, like all 4 of them just hanging out. And I think they were like really close. Like I think the 2 pairings and then also just all 4 of them. I think probably
You can tell there was a lot of chemistry.
Yeah, I mean those interviews with Emma Darcy and Olivia Cooke were just like incredible. Like you could just they had so much chemistry just in real life and like clearly get along so well. And I think that really like helped strengthen those performances and really make the it was a lot easier it felt more sincere and genuine. It was an authentic relationship between the 2.
It's true. And if those performances were any less, you would have a really terrible show, right? Because the whole show hinges on the relationship of these 2 women. And I think that other than that, I kind of just waited for something to pop off. And that's what I remember in my my drunken ramblings is to the winds now.
Once upon a time.
That is what I kept saying, and I
you stand by it?
I stand by it. Yeah. I spent a large bulk of these episodes waiting for something to happen, waiting for something just to take me, I don't know, to really keep me pushing play, because ultimately that's what I had to do. I had to keep pushing play. Go ahead.
I'll say what I did then when you were rambling, which I will say it was hard to respond to because you about every other sentence changed your opinion on the show, so it's hard to know where to go. But I think the thing, I mean, we'll get into it more in spoilers, I'm sure, but like, there's a big event that happens in, episode 8? Is that right? Whatever. We'll get to it. But like, you can't have that happen sooner because you aren't invested. Like, you don't give a shit. And I think that's probably, I think it's pretty much in line with like Game of Thrones or like other big series. I think, Rings of Power kind of has that moment too, where you're like waiting for it. But like, that's kind of the anticipation. Like, that's kind of the point. And I think that sometimes that lead up is filled with a lot of like exposition or like dumb shit. Whereas with this, like, I think particularly having read the book, like there's a lot of stuff they cut out in a way, not really pertinent, but just like they, there's some stuff they expand, other stuff they shorten, but I think they really, focus on those relationships. And so outside of those big moments, it's really a relationship driven show, not a plot driven show.
That's fair.
And I think, again, like, because of how good the cast is, I mean, we talked about this last time, but just like the sheer amount of people in the show who should be nominated for Emmys, like, I feel like it should be like The White Lotus was this year, where like everyone from The White Lotus was fucking nominated. I think Paddy Considine obviously was like a just fantastic performance. He played Viserys, the king, and he got praise all around. Like, I think he just really, and George R.R. Martin said that, he brought more to the performance and the character than he had even imagined. But I really think that, Matt Smith, Emma Darcy, Millie Alcock, Olivia Cook, and young Allison, Emily Carey. They were all really just fantastic. I mean, everyone, honestly, I think there really is only one bad performance in this whole fucking show. And I don't know her name, but she plays Mysaria, the White Worm, who starts as just like a prostitute in Flea Bottom who Damon is into and pretends that she's carrying his child, and then she becomes like a Master of Whispers-esque figure who, knows what's going on. But she's not a bad actress. Like, I've seen her, like, she was great in Crazy Rich Asians. Like, we know you said she was in Devs, right?
Yeah, she was the main character in Devs.
Was she good in that?
She was good in that.
Yeah, awesome. But this, I think her performance is bad partially because she just doesn't have, I don't think she has the presence to play this character, but I think more importantly, she tries to do this absolutely fucking ridiculous accent that's like a French accent that makes no sense. It's really bad. It's over the top. It's just, honestly, I thought about it later, it's like Jared Leto in House of Gucci.
Yeah. It's not far off the mark.
That's like the vibe it gives.
Because, I mean, like, Game of Thrones like had its share of accents that were not great.
Peter Dinklage
was not good in terms of accents.
But he's a great actor, so we could forgive it. We could forget about
Baelish's accent changed season to season. Maybe that was in line with the character, but like he started doing his Batman voice at a certain point. Like, I mean,
the further the seasons went on.
the more this Littlefinger.
Not to be an Andrew. Right, that's who I thought. What do you mean his Batman voice?
He started talking like this.
I thought,
the more shitty he got, the darker his voice got.
I thought you were saying he was in a Batman movie, and I was like, what Batman movie was
he was in The Dark Knight Rises, so that's technically true. Why does he wear the mask?
Oh.
Tell me about Bane.
Oh my God, that's right. Oh fuck. Okay.
So, I mean, not that this matters for any of this conversation.
Oh my God. So I thought you meant that he was doing the voice that his Batman character does. Like, that's what I thought you were talking about. And I was like,
that would have been better for his Littlefinger character.
But anyway, yeah. So that was like the one bad performance. I think all the other performances were just fantastic. I think the writing was really good and really real. we'll talk about that a little more in spoilers. But yes, anyway, I give it a very yes. I was pleasantly surprised. And I think it's really interesting. I think if you don't have the stomach for the violence, or you like don't want to watch something that features incest, like that's fine. I wouldn't begrudge you that. I do think it's a really well done show and well acted, and I got way more invested than I thought I would. So
yeah,
highly recommend.
I think expectations are like they're going to be low, I think, for most people walking in the door. I think it was a really, really tough sell for this show. Once upon a time, it was a really, really easy sell. Before D&D, before Benioff and Weiss absolutely fucked the end of Game of Thrones, making Game of Thrones into a multimedia franchise with 19 spinoffs wasn't a crazy idea. No, I mean, was it excessive? Do we need all of those? No, but at the same time, you could see the room for potential there. It's such a massive world with, different areas that have been unexplored, different time periods that have been unexplored, and even the recent history. Like, a lot of people were like, well, let's just do a Robert's Rebellion prequel. And they kind of covered that enough. I think in mainline Game of Thrones it's not necessary, but you could still make a whole fucking series out of it, and I think people would be into it. This is not necessarily a period of time that I was clamoring for. I certainly wasn't clamoring to watch anything Game of Thrones related, as I think, again, you two weren't either, and I think a lot of people weren't.
Well, and I think we talked about this, that when I first heard about the show and they were like, oh, it's about the Targaryen, I thought it was starting with Aegon the Conqueror. That's what I thought it was gonna, the uniting of the Seven Kingdoms. That's what I thought the show was gonna be, until maybe I don't know, a fucking week before I watched the first episode. I didn't know, because I think I expected it to be, way earlier.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and
that's what J.R.R. Martin wanted originally. Maybe not quite that early, but he wanted it to start I don't know, 50 years earlier or something like that. I forget what the actual dates are, but yeah.
I don't know. But I mean, point being, didn't really have any high expectations for the show. I wasn't really looking forward to it, and I wasn't. No one had to force my hand to watch it. It was mostly just the curiosity of everyone seeming to think oh, this is
that it was actually good.
This is actually good. This is how Game of Thrones used to be. Was once upon a time. And so, I would say it doesn't necessarily hit the same highs as peak Game of Thrones. This is absolutely. I think it stands next to the pretty good side of Game of Thrones, and I think that there's room for potential for this series to develop into something that probably altogether is better than Game of Thrones. I haven't watched this show, but I have. A lot of people seem to think that Better Call Saul might even have surpassed Breaking Bad. And it's different because I think Breaking Bad had a satisfying finale and people liked the show overall. But people were really surprised of how are you going to make a show that's better than that? Right. A spinoff that's better than that. This is a little
different because it's as long as you stick the landing here, it's better than Game of Thrones.
Right. So it has.
I think they already, because they have a plan. They've planned for a certain number of seasons. I forget how many.
4 or 5.
4 or 5.
Roughly.
Yeah. They know how many seasons it's going to be. They're not going to try to push it longer. They know the beginning, middle, and end because it's already fucking written. It's not like Game of Thrones or
it's helpful when it's already written. But at the same time, I will say, although it is written in the sense that point A, point B, point C, point D, all that, but the in between is really. There's a lot that there's a lot of heavy lift, I think, to take a textbook and turn it into something that is not just a slog to watch.
I think also the way that the book is written is it's written by a maester, but it's talking about this maester's contemporaneous recollection, this Septon, wrote down their thoughts on it, and also the court gesture mushroom wrote about it. So this is what this one says. This is what this one says. But this one says this. This is the one I think is most likely. But they might be wrong. The narrator is not necessarily reliable. They might be wrong, and it might be a fourth option that isn't even considered in the book. And so that's kind of a way that I think, not thinking about it then, I'm sure, but where the way that George wrote Fire and Blood kind of helps give this show the space to be creative with how they fill all the gaps and go more in depth on certain things.
Right. And it's not 100% beholden to everything as depicted there.
Right.
I think the major events are present.
Oh God, should we change this? Because what if that fucks with the ending? They don't have to worry about it here because they know
where they need to go. Mm-hmm. And I think that they've done a really admirable job of taking something that seems pretty tedious on its face and turning into something really interesting and still very Game of Thrones-y.
I will say the book is definitely more interesting knowing the characters.
Yeah.
But without
right,
knowing them.
Going back with the, with the knowledge, I'm sure that's definitely helpful.
Definitely more interesting.
For me, I mean, it's a show that, like we'll talk about with Rings of Power, that HBO is pouring boatloads of money into this shit. Just millions of fucking dollars getting pumped into this shit. They're expecting it to be a big success. They want those dragons to look fucking pristine. They want it to look, like an amazing, production. And I think they've succeeded on that front, which is good. You want it to look pretty. You want it to look sharp. But I think that is a lot of flash. You still need the substance. And I think that I'm really just impressed with the substance here. I think the show lives by the dynamics and the complexities that it afforded to its characters. And obviously we've kind of mentioned by name the biggest ones. I think obviously Rhaenyra and Alicent are the two probably biggest benefactors of like the writing, in the sense that they just give the two women so much that builds into their characters and how it, how the relationship develops throughout the series is really interesting, we'll say. Yeah. And we'll talk about that obviously later.
What's your recommendation?
But fucking, but Patty, man, as Viserys, I have to agree. Just probably a standout performance for me.
Give that man several Emmys.
Give him all the Emmys. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Emmys. I don't
Get
care.
Some flashbacks in next season. Give him another one.
Yeah, I mean, if he wants to come back, I wouldn't be mad about it. So, yeah, I think.
What's your recommendation?
I would say it's a very yes for me. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Surprisingly so. And I think that even for those folks who like us, probably all three of us, I would say, were very, very down on the end of Game of Thrones, said, fuck that, I will never go back to this world. I mean, I have no interest in it. I think if you were that type, if you were someone that enjoyed, the best of Game of Thrones, I think there is something to be enjoyed from House of the Dragon. Again, maybe it doesn't hit the peaks, but I think it does have the potential to get there. And I think that the season 1 does a really good job of covering a lot of territory. I would say at a pretty good pace, to disagree with Andrew there, but I'll leave it at that.
We experienced
for me, I really
very,
it.
very, very different.
Right.
Yeah.
I would say maybe don't binge it.
Yeah,
right?
maybe
Is that the takeaway?
Maybe in 2 years, when we're like coming up on season 2, you should watch season 1 in like anticipation, but like watch it like once a week.
Yeah,
right,
I mean, because even grinding
yeah.
out Game of Thrones, when we did our Game of Thrones episodes,
It's a lot.
It's
intense.
Yeah.
It's
a lot. There's a lot to get through.
It's heavy
well,
content.
And I think also when it's all like in tone and intensity, then it probably starts to feel monotonous, just because you're seeing the same thing, even though in like a week apart, it's not. I will say one of the things we talked about in our first attempt that I think Andrew brought up then, and you just touched on in your recommendation, was just that the dragons like look fucking incredible, and that's something that this had. The sets, the style, the production, like all of that values, of game. Yeah, that was great and like reminiscent of Game of Thrones that you love. But then it also just, dialed it up to 11 on the dragons because they could. There were way more. And I think we talked about how, in Game of Thrones, there's 3 dragons. That's it. You get to see them at different ages as they grow, but all 3 are the same age. Like we don't see anything beyond that. They're all, from the same, they're all, Dany's children, whatever. Like they all basically look the same. They're just different colors, with like a few little details that are different. And this, we really get to see like different, grown sizes. Vagar is so old. It's, over, what is he, like over 150 years or something. Yeah. Like it's just a very different, like, look at the dragons, and they're different ages, they're different sizes, they're different colors, they're different shapes. I think, is it Caraxes who has like the really long neck, and just like a different look. And so I think that was a cool thing here, and I don't think they skimped on it. Those dragons looked really fucking good. They really they looked great.
And the show does a really good job of really like, because I mean, for a large portion of Game of Thrones, the dragons were so young, right?
Right.
And from Jump Street, you can see the power that the dragons hold, and like the power the Targaryens have because of the dragons,
Right.
And that, I mean, that's just from Jump Street, and then like baby dragons versus like maybe a big fucked up ogre looking dragon. Like maybe it's not so. I mean, you got a little shit dragon. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Well, and I think
dragons are
I
cool.
think
The saying "How to Train Your Dragons." What about
and,
that?
and I do hope that we don't get what happened with I don't know if you guys kind of remember, but like the early Game of Thrones, we had a lot more direwolf content, and it was really cool.
Gradually phase them out,
and then they just like disappeared. And like to be fair, like half of them were killed off or like run off into the woods or whatever. But like they clearly did not want to spend the fucking money on the direwolves. And that was a bummer. And then like when they did bring them back every once in a while, I was like, wait, you totally changed the design. It doesn't look like Ghost at all. And so obviously like the hope is that they don't do that here.
Which is a question, since you've read, I mean, I've read a chunk of the older stuff, but I've never read Fire and Blood or anything. And I cannot remember how long before, I mean, because when Game of Thrones comes around, nobody's seen a dragon for a long time. Like, they're mythical creatures.
Correct.
Right? So at some point in this show, are we going to end up seeing, like, the demise of all the not dinosaurs, Jesus Christ, of all the fucking dragons?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think this is a spoiler.
No, I think
so. The whole premise is that this show, House of the Dragon, is about the period of time known as the Dance of the Dragons, and it's a civil war between people who have dragons. It's the first time it's happened in Westeros, and it's like the only time it happens in Westeros. And in the book Fire and Blood, right, in Fire and Blood, the chapters on this are actually called The Dying of the Dragons. Because this civil war that this show is about how all the dragons get killed. I don't think that's a spoiler. Maybe that is.
No,
sorry. But like that's like what it's about.
It's not that long. It's not that long before the events of Game of Thrones. So yeah, for
yeah, I think the final.
It's not like the dragons died out 1 year before Game of Thrones. You know,
right?
So
I don't think the war actually lasts. Like, even though we had all these jumps in the first season, we're not going to have that in the next season.
I think the
it's all going to be within like 5 years or something.
Yeah.
So I think you could probably assume that the last dragon dies about, I don't know, 160 years before Daenerys is born.
Yeah, at least 100 plus years.
At least a generation. At least maybe 2 generations.
Couple generations, yes.
Mm-hmm. A long time has passed, which is why they feel like so mythical, and it's such a crazy thing that she, those eggs would hatch, basically.
And fun fact, if you read Fire and Blood, you actually, this is pre the events of the show, but you find out where her 3 eggs came from.
And where do they come from?
It's kind of interesting. It's like a long story. I mean, they obviously come from the Targaryens, but it's like a story of how they get stolen and taken, and it was really cool. Like reading that and being like, wait, they took three eggs they stole and took them across the narrow sea. That's
cool.
And they never hatched. Like, it's just like, oh my god, those are Dany's eggs. Like, it's kind of cool. Like, that part's kind of cool reading it and be like, I feel like Leonardo DiCaprio, when he's drinking, pointing, whatever.
But yeah,
anyway, Andrew, what is your
we have 2 very yeses. Where does it stack up for you, Andrew?
I think for me, I don't think that I experienced it the way that I should have experienced it. I think I kind of shot myself in the foot trying to get it done in 1 week. With that being said, it did end strongly for me. I understand that it's going, it's trying to jump ahead, 15 years, maybe 15, 20 years in the middle of the show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a couple of jumps.
Literal season. It's
there's a 2-year jump, or no, a 3-year jump, a 10-year jump, and then a 6-year jump.
I'll say we get to the point where some kids are born and they're basically grown up. Correct. Or teenagers at the very least by the end of the season.
Yes.
It does a healthy amount of jumping and stuff. And,
a lot of jumping. A good amount, yeah.
Like, I'm just going to jump to it. I think it's a yes show that ended on a very strong foot. And like you said, I think that it does have the potential to be something wildly awesome. There are a couple of moments in this show that I think that are totally freaking awesome. And I think that those totally awesome moments are bookended by awesome performances. So I think that the show is worthwhile. I think it's definitely worth watching, especially if you're kind of predisposed for like a giant fantasy thing. Or even if you like the first 4 seasons of Game of Thrones, even if you liked all of Game of Thrones, there are those people out there.
I think also if you're like historical,
yeah,
like like this is based loosely on like an actual portion of British history, of English history, sorry. But so if, it follows a lot of those beats pretty, obviously like dragons, but in terms of the succession and the battles and stuff like that, it's
cool. And there's a lot of,
fiction.
Production values are super high. It gets high marks for that. The performances are amazing. For me, the thing that really pulled it down for me is the way I experienced it and kind of like, I guess, the heaviness of the episodes and what would appear to be monotony. I view it as monotony. I have no other way for me to view it. It seems a lot of like the same shit happening episode to episode with bookends of high points or holy shit moments.
I think you should definitely in a couple years rewatch on like a normal schedule.
I think it might just be worth a revisit maybe whenever a new season comes out.
Give it a couple years. Yeah, give it like a little time.
Sure. But for me it's definitely a yes show. So
all right. Well, why don't we get into spoilers? Full spoilers for the first season of House of the Dragon. A couple things just from hearing, both of you talk stand out to me. Andrew, there are moments that stand out for you, and then obviously the relationships and the characters are obviously a huge critical part of this. So I think we should start with one of those things. We're going to talk about characters. We want to talk about big moments.
Let's talk about the big moments that like we can't mention in the non-spoiler thing.
Okay. Yeah.
I think, the big moments for me at least that stand out are different levels of big moments, but I think, kind of the bookends of the episodes in a way. I think for me, still the biggest thing that stands out in my mind isn't even, the big death in the final episode or even Viserys' death, but actually like Rhaenys' reveal during Aegon's coronation to me is just, I think that's just like the biggest moment in the show.
She could have ended.
She could have ended the whole fucking thing right there. And I think the reason that she doesn't is because of the way Alicent steps in front of Aegon. And I think she talks a lot about, wanting to be a queen, but something that's not in the show that is in the books is that whole thing of, is it going to be Viserys or is it going to be Rhaenys? Like the way the first episode opens, which one of them is going to be the ruler of the Seven Kingdoms? In the books, it's not actually that. Is it Viserys or is it Laenor? Is it Rhaenys' son? So, like, they had decided right off the bat it's not going to be a woman. But can the line go through a woman to determine who the king is? So, like, Rhaenys obviously didn't get to be queen, but her son didn't get to be king, and now she's lost her son. She's watching that happen to Alicent right in front of her eyes. So even though she is, like, vaguely Team Rhaenyra, although she's really just Team her, she's not going to do that because she sees that, the mother stepping in front of her son in front of her. And so it kind of, I think, goes to how these characters, even the ones who are despicable or who you don't want to win, are still, like, just complex and multifaceted and have these different parts. Like, I think that whole, sequence where they're searching for Aegon, to tell him he's king and whatever, that Otto is trying on the one hand and Alicent is on the other. And you don't really want either of them to find him because you don't want Aegon to be king. I think the kind of general thing is that the audience is supposed to root for Rhaenyra. I know I was, but you're still kind of rooting for Alicent to find him because she's not going to immediately have Rhaenyra and her kids killed, whereas Otto is. When he asked her if she loves him and she just like calls him an idiot. But I think that shows that she does love him. Like, he's her son. He's fucked up. He's a loser, but like, she does love him. He is her son. And I think that a lot of the show is about rooting for anti-heroes and rooting for, maybe characters who do things that in other stories we see aren't that. I think the kind of trope is that you want to, the pious, virtuous mother who came from nothing. Like, that's who you want to root for, like the Alicent of it. But like, you don't. You root for Rhaenyra because, who gives a fuck that she slept with other men? who gives a fuck? Like, in this world where, like, they do fucked up shit, like, that stuff shouldn't, you know...
Pretty minor transgression, you might say.
Exactly. Absolutely minor. But, of course, to Allison, it's the whole...
No. Let's get the rapist to be king. Yes, please.
Right. And, like, for... Oh, that's right. Because he does. Yeah. I almost said earlier, I was like, oh, there's no rape in this one. No, there is. There's several rapes just off screen. Lovely. But yeah, I think, I guess we'll go more into the relationship between them later because I do want to talk about that. But yeah, I think
it's a huge part of the show. But,
those big moments kind of for a bunch of different characters, you feel like you don't really know who you're rooting for. You're rooting for an anti-hero, or you're rooting, you know, you want Rhaenyra and Damon to get together for some fucking reason. You know, you're watching it and you're like, what is wrong with my brain? Why do I want this pairing to happen? But you do, because the way it's written and the characters and the chemistry between the actors.
Chemistry. That's what it is.
And I think both, you know, and I think one of the great things about the older castings is the way that they carry on, you know, I think... One of the things I've noticed in like posts and, you know, clips and stuff that both Rhaenyra actors hold their hands like the same way when they're just standing, like kind of in front of their torso. Like they hold their hands the same way. So it's cool that they carried that in, but it didn't feel like an imitation of the younger actresses. And I don't think this was like quite Moonlight-esque where like they weren't even allowed to watch the other actors perform. But I think that it feels truly like the adult version of the characters. Like Millie Alcock and Matt Smith had a lot of chemistry. It's a very different relationship, but versus Matt Smith and Emma Darcy. And it just feels, it's still Damon and Rhaenyra, but it's grown. They've experienced growth. They're grown up. I think Damon is probably goes that like anti-hero thing I was talking about. But I do think it's frustrating the things they chose to cut, because they cut a lot of things that kind of bring out his softer side. So I hope that there's a way that those get released so I can see them.
But I still think even without those scenes present in the show, there's a huge growth within Damon. Like obviously there's a darkness, and you see that when he when he chokes Rhaenyra at the end. Like that's obviously like a little closer to old Damon.
Those red flags are still there.
Who's, you know, I mean, the first episode, he's just fucking killing everyone in the city.
Oh yeah,
just horribly maiming and dismembering people, and even I mean, kills his first wife, right? Like that's a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
You know, he's a shitty guy. You know, he's out for himself. I mean, he's fiercely loyal, obviously, to his brother while still, you know, toying with him and fucking with him. Mm-hmm. He's loyal to Rhaenyra, but he at there's still a darkness within him. You know,
I think,
but it is interesting to see that growth. So anyway, yeah,
I think what makes those two so compelling is, in a lot of ways, they're like he's the only one that really sees Rhaenyra, right? And you know, like
sees her potential.
Yeah, and in a lot of ways, the growth, like their trajectory is the same in a lot of ways, right? Mm-hmm. So while Rhaenyra is younger and she has like she seems like you know, nobody gives a shit. I'm just his daughter, right? I'm not going to be this. I'm worthless, and I have no aspirations to be a queen and this and that. In a lot of ways, in the beginning of the show, I'm just the brother to the king, and you give me the shitty job of doing the hand or being the police, and I'm just going to go around murder, you know, I'm going to lay down the law. You know what I mean? I don't give a fuck.
But versus how Kristen Cole sees Rhaenyra, where he like suggests, let's run off together. And she's like, the fuck? You don't fucking know me at all. Like, right. I'm not doing that.
Especially at that point, because at that point she has been named heir.
Right,
so it's like she's got a lot, like, you know,
right
in her future to look forward to.
And I think we see her even the night, not the night, but like around when Viserys is sick and she's at his bedside and she says, like, I'll step away. Like, I won't do it. But if you want me to do it, like, you have to support me in this. Like, she's always kind of a reluctant, but when she goes all in, she's all in.
They're all fiercely loyal to their family, you know, and when it comes to each other, they're incredibly loyal to each other.
Targaryens go to the match. You know, Targaryens.
So I think in a lot of ways there's that dichotomy there that the characters are just specifically Damon and Rhaenyra. I think that they're I think that's at least why I pulled for them anytime they were on screen. Holy shit moments for me is when he like fucking takes the beach by himself. That's fucking cool.
That was pretty fucking cool.
Like up until that
Crab
point,
Feeder, season-long villain?
Yeah.
No.
Nope.
Dispatched in episode 3. Fuck this loser.
Yeah, it was bad.
Yeah, up to that point, you get a shitty asshole cop guy who steals the egg and goes to the island or whatever. Who the fuck's this guy? Like
he's a fucking troll.
He's got a shitty wig. His dragon kind of has that
too.
like snaky fly kind of thing. It's like this guy's kind of a douche. I don't like him until he takes the fucking beach by himself. That's fucking cool. And that's when I'm kind of all in on that guy. He's pretty fucking rad.
I am definitely not all in. He is a problematic fave. He is a fucked up human.
And this is echoing obviously something that we would have talked about already, but the listeners wouldn't have heard yet. He's someone you want on your side at the same time.
Yeah.
You do not want to go against Damon.
No.
Because that's bad news.
He'll take a beach by himself for you.
But yeah, exactly.
Well, and I think in that same conversation last time we talked about like him and Amond and how they're kind of like the shit stirrers. They're the trolls on either side, and they're just absolutely brutal and relentless and merciless. And I think that when they have the dinner and he makes his little strong boy speech and Damon kind of goes up and just kind of puts one hand pushing Jace back, he kind of turns and he kind of looks at Eamon like, you know what? You're funny.
Yeah.
It's like
remind me of me a little bit.
Exactly. Like it's a grudging respect, but it's also like he wants to be me. That's so cute.
Yeah.
And I will say there's like a semi spoiler for a future, but there's like a lot more like that goes down between the two of them. So like I think they've done a nice job of kind of setting that, the basis for that in this first season, because there's more to come there.
They announced that shitty kid as the king at the end, and then fucking Aunt Valeria fucking bust up through the fucking floor with her dragon.
Rainy.
Aunt Valeria. Yes.
The beast beneath the boards.
Yeah, that's fucking.
She's been warning them.
That's a holy shit moment. That was pretty fucking cool.
Yeah, that was a... Yeah.
Also, another cool moment, not to cut you off, getting excited, talking about some stuff that I remember.
It's
way better than last time.
Homeboy's traveling through the fucking... Damon's going through the fucking tunnels to get the other eggs, and...
Oh, yeah, he's like a climber. Yeah, and then at the end when he's singing to...
Yeah, he's just fucking... He's like a dragon whisperer,
Oh, I know the other one's name. I forgot.
That's really fucking cool.
Yeah, no,
it's like some Valyrian
really
magic, or I guess it's not Valyrian. I get whatever. I don't know if it's Targaryen magic or Valyrian magic, but it just seems like it was a callback to like their old ways to how they got the dragons. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? They scale the mountains, they soothe the dragons, they take the eggs. It's just kind of epic.
Yeah.
One thing that I not a holy shit moment. I'm not a fan of the clubfoot guy. I think
you're not
fucking
supposed
creep.
to be. He's a creep.
Yeah, he's just kind of a creep. And how does he, like, I can understand how White Worm, is it White Worm?
Yeah.
I can understand how she could be like a source of secrets. How does fucking creepy old clubfoot guy become the master of fucking secrets?
They kind of show that.
Okay, then tell me, because I forgot.
The kids and the prisoners. So he goes to like the prisoners in the cell, and he's basically like, okay, you can either like be my spy or you can die.
And it's because he's just he's a lord, right? He's a
right,
rich,
and
he elevated himself to basically be lord.
Yeah, by killing his family.
Yeah. Fucking trapping them into a burning building. He burns Harrenhal basically down when his brother and dad are there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. See, I forgot all that, so that's helpful.
Yeah.
I understand now.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You should just very much.
Rhaenyra's baby daddy.
Yeah, Rhaenyra's baby daddy.
Maybe, allegedly. Who's to say?
Rhaenyra's baby daddy.
I mean,
Rhaenyra's baby
those
daddy.
kids do look awfully strong.
Rhaenyra's baby daddy. Gets murdered in a fire. So yeah, I mean, he's the. I don't know if he's the first one, but he might be the first Master of Whispers. I don't know. But it's basically what Varys is in Game of Thrones. So, and honestly, kind of Baelish, I guess, becomes that, right?
Yeah, because I think Varys kind of gets phased out as he goes into Dany's troop. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He was just wildly more compelling. I just really like him though. Viserys.
Viserys, the king. Okay.
Yeah,
we thought we were still talking about Larys the Clubfoot. And I was
no, I don't like him. No,
I think that's kind of probably the other for me. Like the other strong. Now I say strong, but the strongest relationship is between Viserys and Rhaenyra, and I think we kind of see like this parallel of the two, the two daughters and the two fathers, and how the one. How each of them parent, how each of them push their daughters to do more. And I think Viserys and Rhaenyra is such like a cute relationship. Like it's just very, when he does, that's a big moment.
Relationship between father and daughter.
And it's a big moment when he stands up and, defends her. And I think if Damon hadn't cut off the top of Aemon's head, I think Viserys would have cut out his tongue.
Pulled out his dagger. He was ready to go.
Yeah, he was ready to go.
He's a fucking walking corpse quite literally at that point, but he still managed to muster the strength to pull his dagger out and say, "What the fuck did you say?"
Speaking of which, do the Targaryens come across the Narrow Sea with the dagger in the story of the prophecy? To save Westeros from the winter? Or is
we don't actually know. I don't think they ever. So no. So
felt like a shoehorn a little bit.
I think it's implied that the dagger is made once. I don't know. It's implied. I guess it's not implied either way. The idea is that Aegon has his dream. I mean, Aegon has a dream to like go to Westeros, like and unite the kingdoms. That's like kind of the original. I feel like Aegon's dream. I don't know if this is actually part of it.
Well, I was going to ask you. I mean, is this? I feel like this is a show edition compared to Fire and Blood, but obviously you would know better than I.
I don't think there's a dagger in the book, but there is Aegon's dream. I think.
But again, is it?
I can't remember.
Is it for the same reasons I think that are illustrated here?
Unite the Seven Kingdoms
House of the Dragon.
to keep the world safe from the fucking long winter.
Well, but it doesn't mention the long winter.
I don't think it gets that specific. It says
that it'll be the Song of Fire and Ice, but no one knows what that means. It's a prophecy. It's vague.
Right. But it's an analog to.
It's supposed
the prince
to be
the
prince that was promised, Azor Ahai. It's Jon Snow, aka the other Aegon. Mm-hmm. Everybody's fucking named Aegon. But it's not, I think obviously in this, like Viserys thinks it's Rhaenyra.
Right.
I don't really know why he thinks it's her, but he does, and like so whatever.
Yeah, it's a problem with prophecies. Everybody thinks they lived the lifetime of the prophecy, right? Everybody, this is part of the prophecy. No, the prophecy is going to happen 300 years from now.
Right. And that's what kind of fucks everything up with, Alicent. But also, like, Alicent was going to hear what she wanted to hear. Yeah. She was going to twist whatever the fuck Viserys said to make it mean that her son was going to be king. And I think
it's her dad that's the twisted one, right? Because
yes, and he's pushing her and definitely, warping her from who she was. But I think really what warps her is this, like, kind of imagined betrayal by Rhaenyra. And I think those early episodes, the early days, like you really love them and their friendship. It feels very real. It feels very wholesome for Game of Thrones. And then when it kind of all goes to shit, and I think I've been thinking about this more, and so some of what I'll repeat is what I said the other day. But, the first betrayal is really by Alicent. She marries Rhaenyra's dad.
Yeah, that's a pretty big betrayal.
Totally blindsides her. I don't think the marriage itself is a betrayal. I think it's the blindsided part. Like Rhaenyra doesn't know that they're hanging out. Rhaenyra doesn't know that it's progressing. Like, and then to announce it in front of all these fucking people is just really fucked up. Viserys fucked that up. Alicent fucked that up. Whatever. So I think that that's probably something that Rhaenyra could have eventually gotten over, maybe, I don't know. But I think where Alicent kind of fucks up is that she's like, okay, I need Rhaenyra to do something bad so that we'll be even. So that I can be mad at her. And so her thing is that suppose she's like ready for it to be that Rhaenyra slept with Damon and like, I'm your stepmother, so this like looks badly on our family, blah blah. And it's like, that's stupid because it just makes her and her kids look better. Like, what are you talking about? Why are you so fucking pious? And then really it turns into, well, she lied to me. But then you can't tell me that Kristen Cole, when she catches him about to kill himself, doesn't tell her why he's trying to kill himself. He's got to tell. Alicent has to know that Kristen slept with Rhaenyra. There's no fucking way she doesn't. So all she has to do is like think about that for a second and be like, oh, she didn't lie to me. She told me that she didn't sleep with Damon. She didn't sleep with Damon. So
but now she's got a card in her pocket with the guy.
Right, but I think she also she wants a reason to be mad at Rhaenyra, but she like goes too far. Like she's just acting like she's so much better than her. Like, you fucked your best friend's dad. You are not better than her. She had sex. Whoop-de-fucking-do. Like, who cares? But in a way, like, it feels very like a fight that teenage girls would have. Like I'm mad at you because you finally had sex and you had sex with someone I don't like. And he's not good for you. Oh, no, you actually had sex with the other guy? Well, you're a whore. You're still a slut. And it's just such like a silly imagined slight that Alicent just holds on to for too long.
And I think a lot of it, there's a lot of probably a resentment too, right? Like her dad's forcing her to have sex with this old guy while Rhaenyra's out banging the hot bodyguard guy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that's part of it too.
I'm doing the duty for my family, but you're sitting over here and you're running around banging whoever you want to bang. You're not doing the duty for your family.
That while Alicent like is sad that she misses out on this like opportunity to find a young husband or whatever, I do think that she loves Viserys in her way. I mean, we see her grieve when he dies. And I don't think she's just grieving for what she has to deal with after that. I think she truly is grieving for him. I think the problem is that she probably knew him her whole life growing up. Like, she probably loved him more as a dad. Like, more in that kind of relationship. So I think that was, like, probably complicated. But I just think she's kind of petty and immature. And even though I really like her at times, she also just frustrates me so much. Like, she knows that her kids are going to be bad fucking kings. Like, she knows they're going to be bad rulers. Like, just marry off one of your kids to Rhaenyra's kids. Like, Rhaenyra suggests. Rhaenyra makes all these efforts to, like, come together and like patch things up, and Alicent just fucking spits in her face every time. But then Alicent still like at times defends it. Like, are you guys plotting this? Like, I don't want her and her kids killed. Like, she's still, even kind of up until you want them to come together and figure it out. You want them to be friends. I think the big moment there is like when Alicent tries to fucking kill Rhaenyra with the fucking dagger. Yeah. That's probably a huge peak in their relationship. And I think that's a badass moment too for both of them. For Alicent, for finally like being like, I'm so fucking sick of you. Which again, stupid. Your kids are the shitheads, Alicent. Newsflash. But what Rhaenyra says, where she's like, they finally see you who for you are. Was it exhausting? Pretending to be so great. But even after that, there are times where you think that they're going to you want them to fix things. You want them to, right up to the end.
Like, nothing has happened that's so bad that it cannot be fixed.
Until.
Really.
Now there has.
Well, yes. But
now there has. But the whole series,
up until... Yes. Last kind of, few episodes anyway.
But I think that they're...
Oh, that boy got fucked up too, boy.
He did, yeah. But I do think that their relationship is the most compelling thing and really keeps things going. But yes, the murder in the skies.
I'll go to Storm's Inn, mother. I would tell him
we are past the point of no return now.
And I think it's interesting because it's, again, played very differently in the show than in the book. Because in the book, it doesn't play as like an accident.
It plays as murder, basically, right?
It plays as a purposeful murder. But I think it was better done in the show because it really does show, the dragons are dragons. Like, you can try to control them if you want to, but they're fucking dragons. They're going to do what they're going to do. And I think that was really a big moment of like, oh, fuck. Yeah, we're dealing with dragons here. We're dealing with a bunch of dragons. This is what happens when dragon goes up against dragon.
And a bunch of little assholes, too. A bunch of little kids flying around.
And you
see
Aemon just being like, oh, fuck, what have I done? But I think I'm really glad that they didn't end that episode with that. I'm glad we get to see Rhaenyra's reaction, because I think, number one, it shows that she and Damon are again going to kind of be brought together because he's the one who tells her. But also, like, Emma Darcy should win an Emmy just for the way they acted with their fucking back. Like, that whole performance where we just see Rhaenyra from behind and you see the way her back moves in grief, and then the way she turns around and just the look on her face. Like, I don't know. I just, oh yeah. And then, to end on that, I'm just like, fuck, I want to keep watching. Like, I want to see how she fucks him up.
I mean, because it sets the stage for a conflict unlike any, like, everything's going to seem like small potatoes in season 1 as things in season 2 pop off, I think.
And now shit's real. So
yeah, big time. I thought that ending was really, really spectacular. I mean, fantastic. The visuals, I think the stuff with Storm's End was really cool, and obviously the actual kind of, I call it a duel between the dragons, but let's be honest, it was a slaughter. A very one-sided slaughter. I agree. Just the actual moment of Rhaenyra finding out. And it's really interesting because up until that point, Damon is the one who's very gung-ho about, like, fuck them. Let's just go to war. They've stolen your crown. Like, we need to go fucking kill them and tell them who's boss. And Rhaenyra is not quite ready to plunge the realm into war until her children are literally attacked and killed. Yeah, it's it's going to lead to a lot of heartbreak, I suspect, and a lot lot more murder, a lot more dragons flying about in the skies, probably murdering and such.
Oh,
but they'll be dancing.
Yeah. Just kind of one final thought, I think, before we're ready to move on is just, I think I kind of said that the heart of the show is Alicent and Rhaenyra and their relationship, and I appreciate that framing. It's pretty much that in the book too. I feel that it's pretty much, but it's refreshing given Game of Thrones, especially those early days of Game of Thrones, where not only were women not the focus, but they were either a joke, a la, Sansa and Arya, but also just treated horribly and represented horribly on screen. And although we do have a bit of that in the first episode of House of the Dragon, there was no reason to show that much of a traumatic C-section. No fucking reason for that.
That was brutal.
Yeah, treated absolutely brutally. But I think that this show did a much better job of, like, not just treating them better and giving them a focus, but, like, giving them shit to do. I think this show did a really good job of writing full women characters who I gave a shit about and also could absolutely relate to, which was kind of a new thing for me in Game of Thrones, I guess.
Yeah. So. Yeah. I have a few final notes, and then we'll proceed on to the Rings of Power. I just wanted to add my 2 cents about, I think, talking about less Rhaenyra and Alicent specifically. I think we've kind of touched on the development of that relationship, and obviously how it is now too far gone. Wasn't always so. I was going to make a comment on the parental relationships, because I think that it's such an interesting dichotomy that basically informs. I think it helps inform why Alicent is such a bitch toward Rhaenyra, if you will.
Yes.
I think it's because she's got a little too much Otto in her at that point. Because Otto is a manipulative piece of shit who has piloted her, obviously towards comforting Viserys, and then, going down the rabbit hole of them getting married, blah, blah, blah.
This is his ultimate goal.
He's a conniving piece of shit who craves power, and I think that although he and Alicent don't always see eye to eye, obviously, again, see the scenario of getting Aegon, like, you spend that much time around someone playing their game, playing the Game of Thrones, blah, 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 so to speak. I think that that's kind of how it trickles down. And I think the opposite is true of Rhaenyra being her father's daughter. She extends olive branches, even though she really doesn't owe Alicent anything at that point.
Because that's how her father rules and governs.
Like, her kids are pieces of shit who are shit stirrers.
They're a bunch of fucking weirdos.
The fact that Aemond lost an eye is his own fucking fault, for being a bit of an asshole. Like, so I think my point is, I think that the father-daughter relationship between Viserys and Rhaenyra it's very sweet. It's very touching. His, like, kind of unending loyalty to her is really inspiring to kind of see, especially in the face of her coming up against so many obstacles of basically just being a woman in this world where the world doesn't respect women in the same way that they respect men, which obviously is, taking a bit of inspiration from reality.
Imagine that.
But I think on top of that, what I will say is, at the end of the day, King Viserys, one of the few good men in the entirety of Westeros, right? I think fundamentally in his heart, just a good man. Not necessarily a good king, because to steal some Black Panther adages, being a good man doesn't make you a good king, But I feel like Viserys was kind of I feel like he got the short end of the stick a lot of the times. Like he just wanted to fucking play with his his Warhammer fucking castles and shit, and he wasn't really too concerned. Anytime the family starts bickering,
Legos.
He stands up. He's like, "Shut the fuck up! No bickering." While I'm,
and the throne literally killed him.
We need to love each other.
The throne was literally the death of him.
Getting fucking poked to death by the goddamn Iron Throne. That thing's impractical as all hell. I guess that's true to the books, but yeah, I don't know. King Vizzy T, man. I thought he was
Don't ever say that again.
He was awesome. I really, I enjoyed the performance, but I thought the character was just, an interesting kind of Ned-like parallel, right? Of a good dude who you just want to root for, who you can stand behind, and of course, he is not long for this world. Although he lasted a lot longer than I expected to. He did not. He
lasted a whole lot longer than I expected him to.
He lasted pretty much the whole season. His presence was felt throughout, even when he was in ill health. And I think, obviously, now that he's gone, much in the same way when Bobby B died in Game of Thrones, the power vacuum, kind of surfaces, and that causes a lot of conflict. And that's kind of how we are in season 2. So. It's obviously been renewed for a second season. I think it'll be at least a couple of years away. One of the showrunners...
Yes, it will not be before 2024, they said.
Okay. One of the showrunners, Miguel Sapochnik, said that he is stepping away from the show. So it's still the main guy, Ryan Condal. George will obviously still be involved for season 2. But I'm really looking forward to it. So any other thoughts on House of the Dragon?
I'm good.
That's it. Yeah, we can move on.
Let us move on then to The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power. All episodes on Amazon Prime Video, developed by J.D. Payne and Patrick McKay, based on The Lord of the Rings and appendices by J.R.R. Tolkien. What are we going with?
I go with Tolkien.
Okay. Okay. I defer to you.
You're not reading all these actors unless Andrew can tell me who Nazanin Boniadi plays.
I'll accept a character description without the name.
Is it the Black Elf?
Nope. So we're skipping the actors. We're probably going to name the big ones anyway. If you want to know who the actors are in Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power, go look on IMDb. Anyway, the synopsis is...
It is an epic drama set thousands of years before the events of The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings, which follows an ensemble cast of characters, both familiar and new, although portrayed by new actors, as they confront the long-feared reemergence of evil to Middle-earth. Evil.
Great.
So, non-spoilers, think maybe I'll kick it to Andrew first here.
Somebody
I feel
else
like
start.
Once upon it, again, old days, you were really pumped to get into Lord of the Rings, but you had lost steam, I think, by the time you got there. So hopefully you've got something for us this
consciousness.
time. Yeah, well, maybe that.
Lord of the
Anyway,
Rings.
Rings of Power.
Not Lord of the Rings. Rings of Power.
Rings of Power. It's Lord of the Rings universe to me. Middle Earth.
It is. That's true.
It is delightful to be in Middle Earth. I like the lore. I like all the stuff. I was compelled to buy a big ass 50th anniversary or whatever book with golden pages of it. I will read it sometime in the future. I like it.
But you remember what you're going to read first, right?
I finished my... I've been reading a series of books that I will announce in the thing.
No, I mean, you're going to read The Hobbit first.
Oh, The Hobbit.
You have to read The Hobbit first.
It's also a much easier read.
Correct.
So
it really gets you...
It's
a good way to, it's a good warm-up for Lord of the Rings.
Fair enough. I will read that
it's
first.
Also essential. Yeah, you have to.
I'll
be mad at you.
What I will say about this show is much like the first show that we talked about, in my opinion, this show suffers from pacing issues. I think that the show tries to establish a lot. Like you said, it's kind of like this is kind of what you sign up for, I guess, is what it is. Because I remember having the same thing with like the first 4 episodes of Game of Thrones. When it came out, there's a lot of moving pieces. I don't think that this lands all of its efforts, though. Like, I understand that there's a lot of moving pieces, and you got a lot of footwork to do. But I don't think it quite lands all the footwork. I think it could do a better job of it, and I think that as a result of it not doing everything that it could do effectively or efficiently, I think some of it feels bloaty. Specifically in the, I would say maybe like in the beginning to the middle area, the end of the first third feels really bloaty to me. There are some cool things that happen. It does have, I think it's got really good character development. I think the characters, I like the way that they're written, and I don't know if I just like the way that high fantasy people talk. I don't know if I'm a sucker for it. But just the way they say their words and what their words are, it kind of sound like an idiot when I put it out in the ether that way. I like it when people talk about Taoist and doeth thou go to the trolls or the mountains and this and that, blah 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 blah. It's like that's cool. It's like a bygone era kind of thing. Anyways, they don't say Taoist and all that shit, though. They don't say that, but they do talk cool. Amazon pumped a shit ton of money in the show. An absolute shit ton of money, and it shows. It's a very pretty show. I think that... Oh, by the way, these are the best-looking orcs that we've seen in a very, very long time. The practical effects and stuff with the orcs and stuff, I think the orcs look outstanding. I think the makeup and character design is great.
They even went back to some of the actors from
really?
the original Lord of the Rings. Yep. Yeah, if you'll recall that iconic line of, "Looks like meat's back on the menu,
Looks
boys."
like meat's back on the menu, boys.
Okay, that was better. But that guy is in it, and he actually plays a character that gets killed. And I was like, oh, darn, he's gone. And then the next episode, I was like, nope, he's back. So he voices multiple orcs.
Excellent. It's good.
Yeah. He's great.
Yeah.
He's the orc guy.
I think the twist at the end, we'll talk about the twist at the end.
Yeah,
there's twists and stuff.
Just some turns, sure.
Yeah, I think largely that this was an enjoyable show. It's a little bloaty. It's a little bloaty and the pacing's a little off. But I think if you stick with the ride, I think you get rewarded for it. So much of that's kind of my same opinion with House of the Dragon. Stick with it, and I think you'll be rewarded for your efforts. I think it's really cool. I can't wait to talk about spoilers and stuff because I know that. Well, I don't think Colton's read it, but I know you're pretty vested. So,
who goes first? You go first. I go first.
I go first.
Okay.
I'm changing things up this time.
Don't steal any of my thoughts from the last time we recorded this, or I'll punch you in the face.
Well, it's a good thing I have a recording that is getting funneled into one ear, so I can just repeat everything and claim it as my own. It's perfect.
I'm just gonna reach over and turn your mic off.
Yeah. So I think my biggest issue with the Rings of Power was the pacing. I didn't feel any pacing issues with House of the Dragon. It kept me interested and engaged pretty much moment to moment in every episode. That was not true for the Rings of Power. I felt there was a lot of plot beats that were repeated or stretched out. And I think part of it, too, is I think certain storylines were just way more fucking interesting than others.
Yeah.
And I didn't feel that way about House of the Dragon. I think House of the Dragon, obviously, it's not as spread out, I think, in terms of this. There's a lot of storylines, and yes, they do eventually mostly intersect. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, when they're kind of standalone, there's not a whole lot of movement in any of them. And to me, even though this is technically a shorter episode count, it's only 8 versus 10 with Dragon. Yeah. It felt like there was about 4 episodes worth of material for me. Whereas House of the Dragon, to me, did feel like it never to me felt like it was stretching things. Right. To me, anyway. Whereas this one felt like a 4-episode series kind of doubled in length unnecessarily.
Well, I think there were also parts though of this where you're like, oh, I would have liked to spend more time there, or I would.
Yeah,
they almost
sure.
had this weird. It felt to me like there was this weird need, and I will preface that. I'm sorry to interrupt your take, but these are showrunners who have never been showrunners before, and I think that that's a really big gamble that Amazon made, and I'm not sure it was the best choice to choose two showrunners who've never done this before. But it almost felt like they had this weird need. They wanted to give each of the storylines equal screen time. And I think
it didn't need to be that way.
It didn't need to be that way. And you can't be afraid to like give more attention to the storylines that are more that have more depth, quite frankly. There's a lot, I'm sorry, but there's a lot more depth to like the entire fucking kingdom of Numenor versus like the Harfoot's hike. It's not the same. There's not the same
They're not
depth.
equivalent.
There's not the same lore.
Yeah.
I'm here for the fucking Harfoots. That fucking
and I'm not, because I think that The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings is about the importance of hobbits and how they come into their importance and how it's kind of their age in a way. It's a brief age, but whatever. Like, so this idea that like, oh, we got to have lots of them here. It's like, no, it's not their time yet. First of all, like, it's not their time yet. And second of all, like, we've just had 6 fucking movies and tons of lore that's really focused on hobbits. The whole point of like the excitement, at least for me, for this show was like we get to see more of the elves in their peak and we get to see Numenor. I'm sorry, but I'm not here for hobbits. Like, I love hobbits, but I'm not here for them. And it doesn't help that like the creators of this show and the Hobbit trilogy fundamentally don't understand hobbits, but I'll say that for spoilers. Continue, sorry.
Yeah, I mean,
they spent the pacing you were talking about. They spend too much time on.
They spent a lot of fucking time with the Harfoots that I didn't need to spend that much time with. Personally, I think it wasn't that they shouldn't have been included, and wasn't that. I just think it was very glacial in terms of how they proceeded with that particular storyline. Whereas I did find everything else had some sort of momentum to it that built to something really interesting. And obviously there are things. This is a season 1. We know Amazon is putting a ridiculous amount of money in this. It's not a one-season thing. We know that there is more to come with, obviously, some of the pieces that they're putting down. And so there's not payoff to everything. So maybe in the long run, the slog is worth it. I don't know. It's hard to say right now. But I will say that certain things just worked better in terms of storylines for me. Really, the only other thing I think non-spoiler-wise for me is, I mean, the production values are they're ridiculous. I mean, I'm glad because, I think the Peter Jackson Lord of the Rings trilogy still stands up, I think largely in terms of effects, in terms of like everything across the board. Like, I think it's a really incredible accomplishment. And even more so when you think about the fact that it's 2 decades old now. Compare that to, obviously, Andrew and I talked about The Hobbit recently with our buddies at Ink to Film.
It's a fucking train wreck.
And those films, despite being made, over a decade later, look like dog shit. Like, they look like fucking digital pieces of shit. Very ugly CG, ugly character design, over-designed shit. This is not that. This is fortunately is not that, I would say. This, to me, I mean, it doesn't look like something that was made 20 years ago. Obviously, it looks like it was, it looks new, it looks shiny and everything, but it doesn't look bad. It looks like the money was well spent. Like the sets and the world really feels well designed and authentic. And I think, the character, the wigs, the makeup, everything, like all that looks like really good. The armor looks fucking cool. All those sorts of things that should be the hallmarks of a fantasy show, especially one with millions, hundreds of millions of dollars getting pumped into it. All those things are up to snuff. You want them to be, right? And they are. So I'm glad to report that they are. Yeah, I mean, compared to House of the Dragon, the cast wasn't as exceptional here for me. I think the dialogue was a little. I thought the writing in general was not as snappy, not as effective. But I do think that certainly the characters that got the most prominence, for the most part, Harfoot's aside, were really compelling. Like, obviously Galadriel is a main character who we know from the Lord of the Rings film trilogy, and I guess The Hobbit technically she was in that. And Cate Blanchett, like that's like how do you live up to Cate Blanchett's interpretation of Galadriel? And I thought Morfydd Clark did a really, really admirable job of it. So calling her out as a specific example of taking a character that has been done before and then doing it really well. I was impressed with her. And, there are some familiar faces, familiar character names, not really faces, I guess. And it's interesting to see how everyone slots into the storyline. For me, as someone that hasn't read The Lord of the Rings, doesn't know the lore, doesn't know the mythos and stuff like that. And obviously not that this is 100% accurate, but I'll defer to Anna on that particular point. I don't know. I did find it mostly engaging. I just think it was a bit stretched out. So I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it overall is my take on The Rings of Power. How about you, Anna?
So like House of the Dragon, I was not, well, I shouldn't say that. For Rings of Power, when it was first announced, I was so excited. And then when they announced when the timeline it was going to be, and we knew it was going to be like the forging of the rings and the fall of Numenor, like I got really excited because it's just cool lore. So I was really excited. And then when casting started to come out and other news and trailers, I was not excited.
So let's start with the casting. What casting didn't you like?
Okay, I'm sorry, but the guy who plays Elrond is a fucking goof. He looks goofy.
He looks like a fucking goober.
He looks stupid. The Gil-galad casting is fucking horrendous. Terrible. He's so unlikable. Like Gil-galad is supposed to be likable. And I think he reminds me of like
Gil-galad's the king of the elves.
Yeah, and he reminds me of like a stuffy office boss, CEO or some shit. Like he just doesn't have, I think, the presence of an elf.
But his shit didn't sink, right? Like that's kind of vibes I got. Like, I'm king of the elves. I'm Gil-galad.
Yeah, they made him Thranduil. Like they made him Lee Pace, and that's not who Gil-galad is. Gil-galad is different. Like that's not. They
didn't understand the character because that's the way I.
Yeah, no, that was bad casting. And I think also, honestly, Celebrimbor is pretty sketchy casting because, like, why is he so old? He's an elf. They're not supposed to be that old. So that was problematic. Like, the oldest elf is supposed to be Círdan. And he's, like, the only one who grows a beard. And, Celebrimbor is not that.
He got the short end of the stick, too. Because
we also saw Celebrimbor in the Lord of the Rings video game. He was a real badass.
Oh. Was he? I
You also technically briefly see him in The Lord of the Rings.
Was he a badass in that one too?
Mm-hmm. No, it's just like a shot of him. I assume it's supposed to be Celebrimbor. Well, I don't know if it's actually supposed to...
Well, I know for a fact Celebrimbor takes over the body of the guy, the fucking dude in the video game, and he's the reason you can zip
Not
around
canon.
and fucking... Oh.
Not canon. That's not canon. That's not canon. But I will say the canon... that phrase generally here like doesn't really mean much because the important thing to remember, which has made me appreciate this show slightly more, is that this show is not based on the Silmarillion, whereas House of the Dragon is very much based on the book that's written about that time frame. This is not. They did not get the rights to the Silmarillion. They do not have the rights to the story, the book that really goes in depth on the forging of the rings, on, the fall of Numenor. They are working only with The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings. Now, of course, The Lord of the Rings includes extensive appendices, which include a year by year, line by line fucking timeline, which is it took 90 years to forge the rings. It took fucking forever. Also, it's not until they forge the other rings that they realize it's Sauron. Even that, they just throw that away. But anyway, they're very limited in what specifics they have. And the thing is that they can't do anything too closely to the Silmarillion. So it's not even just that they can't use what the Silmarillion says. They can't do anything too close to it or they'll get sued. So there are certain things that they had to just fully change from what is canon because they couldn't get sued. So that's kind of an important lens. And again, there's a couple things there that I'll note in spoilers that's very different. But I think there were some things that they did that were like new things that they had to create that they did really well and were really interesting, and others that were not so much. Which again, maybe that's more spoilers. I do think that, you know, like you guys said, like the production here is beautiful. It's gorgeous. Everything is aesthetically pleasing. Everything is interesting to look at. Not only does the world have, you know, a feel and a vibe, but each of the different kingdoms. I mean, you have the Southlands, you have the Harfoots, you have Numenor, you have Lindon, you have Eregion, like, and Khazad-dûm. Like, they all have very different feels and vibes, and it's just really well done. I think the design is just incredible, and it's just it's like aesthetically pleasing. It's nice to look at. It's really nice to look at. I think the casting here is really a mixed bag. I will say I was not excited about Morfydd Clark. I was not excited about Galadriel, and I was wrong because she's fantastic. I actually really like a lot of what they did with her character. There's some stuff I'll touch on in spoilers that I don't like that they did, but overall, I thought she was really excellent. I thought she was really good, and while there are problems with the portrayal and storyline of Galadriel, I do like her as kind of a vessel for the viewer to kind of see what's going on with the elves. I was very surprised by that, but pleasantly. Yeah, I think the writing was pretty bad in parts. Quite frankly, I think the dialogue was weak. I think there were parts that were okay and other parts where it took me out of it, unfortunately. And I think, like we said, that balance of the storylines and kind of who to spend more time with and who not, they didn't really nail that. But I do think it was good. I do think it was enjoyable. I think, like you said, Andrew, like, it's just fun to return to Middle Earth, you know?
Yeah, it's something I like.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of starting to compare to more like Harry Potter-esque, you know, like Harry Potter has good and bad, but like it's fun to watch them, even though some are not good. And so I think, you know, this is better than that, to be fair. But yeah, I think it's not
top tier Lord of the Rings,
right? But it's enjoyable, and it's better than The Hobbit.
Yeah, it's definitely better than The Hobbit.
Yeah. Are we ready to go into spoilers?
We have to go into
recommendations. Yeah.
Okay. I am. Fuck. What did I say the other day? I said I was between.
Did we get this far? We got this far the other night?
We did.
We did. I don't know if you did, but we did.
So we gave ours, and as I think Colton gave his first, and I was giving mine. You disappeared, and then we were like waiting for you to come back.
We're like, what's your recommendation, Andrew?
And then that's when I texted Sarah and was like, where is he? So mine is it is between the middle tier and one above it, which is yes, fine. It's fine. It's fine. Yeah, watch it. Yeah. I don't think it's a waste of time. I don't think, but like, it's fine. Yes, it's fine. Yes, fine. Yes, that is my new. I have added to your scale. Sorry. Yes, fine. Yeah, it's not quite a yes for me, but it's yes, fine.
Okay. All right. Well, before he falls asleep again, Andrew, what's your recommendation of Lord of the Rings: The Rings of Power?
I think the show is a yes show. This is a yes show. It's got spectacle. It's got some problematic pacing. You know, it's got some issues with that. I think it's at the end of the day. I think it's for me, anyways. For my 2 cents, I was always happy to push play on the episode. All right, let's see what's happening. You know, there was always reason to return, despite wherever the last episode left off. Yes, certain lines deserve much less screen time than others. I will stand behind that. But overall, I think I will be watching season 2. I am happy this show was made. I'm happy that they put as much money in it. I think you can tell that there was a lot of care put into it. The people that were involved with the show, I think, are excited to be making the show.
The design is immaculate. It's just
I mean, it seems like a lot of really talented people were on board and they're passionate about the project, which is cool. And I'm really happy that Lord of the Rings is being made. You know, does have its shortcomings, but nothing pulled me. It didn't detract me too much out of it. You know what I mean? I still had a lot of fun. So yes for me.
I will also say yes, so I'll agree with Andrew. I think it just needed to be tightened up. I mean, overall.
That's fair.
And I
Perhaps
think that
more experienced showrunners being consulted.
Yeah, maybe they would know where to, trim the fat, so to speak. And I think that, I think if nothing else, it sets up well for the future. Mm-hmm. And totally. That's kind of what you want out of something is going to be a multi-season affair. You want that. I mean, obviously you want it to be satisfying in its own right and enjoyable to watch. And I think that for the most part, this is it's got a lot of good aspects to it that just happen to be a little too stretched out. So we'll see where it goes for a second season, obviously. But I'd say it's a yes. I think it's a good start for certainly for the return on investment for Amazon for putting so much goddamn money into this thing. I'm glad that it shows. I'm glad that obviously what we're getting feels like a nice return to Middle Earth to echo some of those sentiments, I would say. So full spoilers for the Rings of Power. Where do we start?
I think I'm just gonna go back real quick to like a couple of the things I said. I'm gonna touch on that in spoilers. The one is the things I didn't like about Galadriel's storyline.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And I think for me, the main thing, I think a lot of times a romance or a coupling gets kind of shoehorned into women's stories. We were actually talking about how that was like a nice thing about Wakanda Forever, that they like didn't try to push a love story on Shuri. Like she's got enough going on. Yeah. And that's kind of how I felt here. Like Galadriel has enough going on without trying to like push this like weird attraction. And then to excuse it in like what the fucking final episode of like, oh, she thinks her husband is dead. Her husband is not dead. He is very much alive. She has been married for a while. I don't know if she has a kid yet, but like she must have a kid because then her kid marries Elrond. Like I just felt unnecessary to like change that part. Like that was a change that I did not like. At first I didn't like the like, okay, why is she like, a sword fighting warrior, because her power is more in like her magic and like that kind of power. But like, what? It was fine. It was fine. It didn't bother me. In actually seeing it. I think the weird tension with Halbrand, I think I would have liked them to, I don't know, they have this connection when they're fighting. Why does it have to be this weird sexual tension and underlying romantic feelings? Like, just have it be that they're strong colleagues, like, I don't know. It just felt a little forced and like not real. So I did not like that. I will say that the stuff with Numenor, particularly with Galadriel's presence there, I thought was really, really good. The stuff that happens in Numenor happens in the like a canon timeline quite a bit later than the other events that are happening in Middle Earth. And so I actually don't hate the way they kind of pushed it all so it's in the same timeline. I think it's a lot more interesting. Yes.
Simultaneous.
Yep. And I think is fine. That I think that's something that they did really well.
More urgency when there's not hundreds of years elapsing between
events. Right, or even like 90 years of them making the rings. I think there were some other things they kind of added that I liked. I really like the Arondir and Bronwyn story. I think partially because those are two really good actors.
Right, and it shows that they can craft a romance that feels authentic.
Which, by the way, Nazanin Boniati, she, right? No, wait. Yes, right? Yeah, Nazanin Boniati. She plays Bronwyn. Mm-hmm. She's the one I asked you about at the beginning, Andrew.
yes, to circle back to that.
And
close the loop there.
She's fantastic. She was on Homeland, and she was, of all of Homeland, my favorite fucking character because she was so fucking good on that show. I like think about, like, random things will make me think about her performance in that show.
Do you know why she seemed really familiar to me, and I couldn't place her until I looked her up on IMDb?
What?
She was Nora in How I Met Your Mother, of all things. That was where I recognized her from.
She was.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I forgot that. She's great. Yeah, no, she's just a really good actress. Wow, God, what a fucking varied.
Range.
Yes, her
very
range is stunning.
Ooh, stunning.
I gave you the opening. You're welcome. And then also Ishmael Cruz Cordova, who played Arondir, is also really great, and he's really good in everything he's in. And I thought they had really good chemistry that I wasn't really expecting, and I think it was great and interesting and kind of fun that it was, in the Silmarillion, it's like made very clear, like there are only 3 couplings of human and elves. There's only 3. It's Baron and Luthien, it's Erendil and Elwing, and it's Aragorn
and Arwen.
Thank you. There we go. I was trying to remember Elwing. I was like,
I could give you one. That's about it.
I think it's Elwing who's with Erendil. They all have E-names. It's very confusing. But anyway, yeah, so to have this kind of 4th one off the books was kind of fun. And I think helped that the characters were likable and the actors were good. I think, unfortunately...
Shame about the kid, yeah.
Fucking kid! Theo is so fucking annoying and weird, and like, how did she raise a little Nazi? How did she raise this little asshole who has a weird mustache and pouts all the time, wears clothes that don't fit him, and that fucking horrendous haircut? Is this Stranger Things? Like, what's going on? He took me out of it. He was terrible. It reminds me a lot of like the early seasons of Once Upon a Time, where like the kid Henry is supposed to be like, your like connection, you're supposed to root, and he's so fucking annoying every time he's on screen.
Just want to strangle him?
Yeah, I hope Theo dies. And also another bad one, which I will say apparently the actor agreed with me. Adar, is that technically his name?
Yes.
Adar, the Dark Elf, played by
yeah.
Benjen Stark. We got Benjen Stark and young Ned Stark on this show.
That's right.
Because Ned Stark is Elrond. He just didn't do it for me. And I think, I get it, you want to kind of like do a fake out of like, oh, this other minor villain. Fine. You don't want to go with Sauron right off the bat. Fine. Kill him! We don't need him in the second season. We do not need him in the second season. And clearly the actor felt the same because he left. He said, I'm not doing this. I'm doing this other show on Apple TV. And it's going to be has it been recast?
It's been recast.
Oh, it has been recast. Yeah.
I saw a picture of the other guy.
Nothing like him.
I thought he actually looked fairly similar, like similar features, I thought, from what I saw. Yeah.
But I think part of that is the guy who plays him, the first one, iteration, has a very like distinct face. So yeah, that was something that I did not think was good. There are 2 other things I wanted to just touch on, and then I promise I'll stop dominating. I have strong feelings. One, we were talking about big moments in House of the Dragon and like the Rhaenys beast under the boards. In this, for me, the big fucking moment was the creation of fucking Mount Doom. That was awesome.
That was so awesome.
Fucking cool. I did not see it coming. Like, I did not see it coming, and I thought it was fucking awesome, and I thought it was really well done, and that was the episode we got to the end. I was like, fuck, I want to keep watching.
I think it was the high point of the series.
That was absolutely the high point of the series. It was so fucking good. It had brought them all together. They were all in the same place.
Right. The storylines had
most
converged.
of the storylines were in the same place, and it was beautifully done. The fucking creation of that on screen I thought was excellent. I thought the mythos within it was really cool. I just thought that was amazingly done, and not something that's in the like they made that shit up. That is fully a creation for the show, and it was fantastic. I think the problem is that was the peak. That was the peak of the season.
Even the finale couldn't quite get to those highs again.
Couldn't quite capture that feeling.
Making some rings, okay.
Right. Well, it didn't help that with the ring making, they spent like so long on each shot. But no, I thought the volcano, I just the way they did it was so fucking cool. I actually kind of liked the idea that like he's not doing this so that there's this volcano of immense power that you can use to forge things, because that would be Sauron's. I do think he had some behind the scenes to make it happen. But this idea that, oh, I'm actually a compassionate elf and I want the orcs to have somewhere to live, was actually kind of intriguing. Again, made up for the show, but I think it was intriguing. And then I think the way just the sword thing sticking it in, and just the visual and the epicness of that moment.
Boom! Like that shit
really
shook my whole house. It was so awesome.
Yeah.
I got to watch it.
Yeah.
It did.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Probably scared all the animals, but
Yeah,
no, I thought that moment was just, I wrote like on my notes, remember, it was just volcano with like 3 exclamation points, because it was really fucking cool, and it was very well done. I think there are a couple things. Sorry, I thought of one more thing. The whole thing with Mithril being like the key, very much not canon, but actually kind of cool. I will take it. I think it was interesting. It's adjacent enough that it makes it work. And I do like the relationship between Elrond and Durin. I thought that was fun. I thought Disa was fucking great when she's singing to the like to the mines, like to the ore, to the mountain. That was fucking cool. Like that, I just thought that was like a cool kind of creation of mythos that was really awesome. I thought she was extremely well cast and like gave a great performance. And I think some of the portrayals of dwarves, particularly in the Hobbit movies, it's just fucking goofy. It like kind of doesn't really understand like how cool they are, and it just doesn't really get it. And I thought this did a little bit of that with Durin, making him a little silly, but I thought his dad captured it more. And that dude's been in fucking everything. But I thought Disa really like, she fucking felt like a dwarf. Like, I don't know. I thought she was very good. Yeah. And then the last thing I'll say is the kind of fake out of Sauron versus Gandalf.
Oh, yes. Okay.
And who's who. I think, so in canon, Sauron has the ability to disguise himself as a man, just like a Maiar would. And the Maiar are kind of lower godlike beings over the sea in Valinor. The Istari, or an Istar, they're the wizards, and they are a form of Maiar that in the Third Age are sent to Middle-earth to help battle against Sauron. So that's something they changed right off the bat, because they're not here yet. Like that, Gandalf does not get to Middle-earth until way later.
Whoa. Now, who's to say that Gandalf is in this show?
Okay, this is very clearly Gandalf, the stranger, with the Harfoots. Because of his powers, because of, I think I said there was something about in Fellowship about him going to Rune.
Yes, I think you did.
Or something about Rune being where the stars are weird or something, whatever.
Right, that's where this character is going.
And it also makes a lot of sense for why he pays attention to hobbits, because he's had this interaction with their Harfoots. I liked that part. But the whole premise is that Sauron disguises himself as a Maiar named Anatar. And he goes to the Elven Smiths in Eregion, to Celebrimbor, and he helps them forge the rings because he says he's a Maiar, and he frames himself as the Lord of Gifts. So that's where it's given away when Halbrand says, think of it as a gift or whatever. That's when all of us who knew that part were like, oh, you
too close.
motherfuckers.
Sue Amazon. Sue him.
You know, fuck that. Although I do think they mentioned that in the appendices, that
okay.
he's
Right.
he's the
All right.
Lord
Amazon,
of Gifts.
You're in the
Maybe,
clear here.
I can't remember. So I thought that fake out making you think I think the stranger would have made a lot more sense as Sauron, but I think that was like the obvious one. They had to have a fucking twist. Which, like, fine, because I didn't like Halbrand in the first place. I'm like, oh, you're just doing Aragorn. You're just doing the Lost King of whatever. Like, you're just fucking doing Aragorn again. So I didn't like that fake out. I thought it was stupid the way they had Sauron reveal himself. I feel like they did all of that around wanting to have Galadriel, like, to give her the, like, stronger than the foundations of the earth, more beautiful than the whatever. Like, I feel like they just wanted to do that. Versus like how it's actually in canon, which is that like he puts on the one ring and they're like, oh fuck, that was Sauron. Also, I will say that Gil-galad and Elrond from the start did not trust him before they even knew it was Sauron. They didn't like him, and they wouldn't let him come to Lindon. Celebrimbor really fucked shit up. But I just thought that fake out was a little silly. And I think the Gandalf, follow your nose, blah, 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 was like a bit silly. It's a bit silly. That's how they like confirmed that was him. So yeah, I don't love the way that they did Sauron and Gandalf. I thought a lot of their other kind of creations for the show were actually pretty well done. Galadriel surprised me. I really like the Numenor stuff. I thought they did a fantastic job with basically everything in Numenor, even the creations. It was just beautiful. Like it was cool to look at. I'm excited to see more there. I think they did not do a good job with the non-men characters. Not to say women, but like elves didn't really have the magic they're supposed to have and the dignity, and I think dwarves as well was kind of a mixed bag. And yeah, I think my final thing is just I didn't need to see any more of the fucking Harfoots. I think
Harfoots.
I think you already had them in this season too much, and the stupid fucking decision to send Nori with Gandalf to Rune is fucking ridiculous. It is so fucking stupid. It's so forced. She's fucking annoying. She's already fucked over her family in certain ways, and now she's gonna fucking abandon them. Also, like, they're the origins of hobbits. They don't do adventures. They don't do that. I think it's just like, I hate that there's just this like, hobbits are these silly little creatures who go on adventures. It's not who they fucking are. It's not who the Harfoots are. I think it's just like a fundamental misunderstanding of hobbits and their ancestors. And I thought that there were like cute parts. Like I really liked Poppy. I thought everything with her was cute. I didn't hate that they're like nomads and whatever, but like setting Nori off with Gandalf is just fucking stupid and forced and completely unnecessary. And it's really like overexposure of her and the Harfoots. Anyway, would love to hear responses to any of the things I just ranted about.
I'll kick it to you, Andrew. I mean,
what a cop out.
I feel like sometimes you're bursting at the seams too. You know, to say
I got some stuff going on in my brains.
All right, let's hear it.
So I'll start with the Harfoots.
Yes, is this a defense of the Harfoots?
Yes, yeah. The Harfoots are pretty annoying. Every time like you have like this badass sequence or something that's wildly interesting, and then it shifts scenes, and we go back to the Harfoots. God damn it! I don't care about the Harfoots, you know. But they
wait. So this is not a defense of the Harfoots.
what I do like, what I really liked is how because I guess they feel the need to have this connective tissue with Lord of the Rings, right? Because naturally.
Right.
And the connective tissue they have with the Harfoots and Gandalf, I think Gandalf really having that sense of admiration for the
I think
hobbits.
That part's cute. Just end it, though. Why do we need Nori going with him?
I thought the part that was really specifically this, like, everything except let's go on an adventure with this guy.
Yeah.
The way that they kind of taught him they taught him his humanity, I thought was really, really interesting. Because, I mean, at one point he thought, I'm just here to fucking kill everything.
Right. They bring out the good in him.
Yeah, it was really cool. And then there was that moment in Lord of the Rings where he talks about, oh God, I can't remember the quote. I wish I took notes. I can't remember.
You can learn everything you need to know about a hobbit in a day. But at the end of the day, they'll still surprise you. Is that the one?
No, it's about it's something about I mean, I guess it's along those lines though. It's about how someone so scared and nervous is they I don't know, they can find the courage to
you.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
It's really cool. So I don't have an issue with him being Gandalf. I didn't know anything going into it.
But you must have suspected at some point that he was Sauron, right?
The
fire, the lantern fly, or the not the lantern fly.
The
lantern flies. Oh my God, living here has killed my brain. The lantern flies. The lightning bugs.
The lightning bugs.
Oh my God, I called them lantern flies. horrendous.
Is that a thing?
You should kill lanternflies. The spotted lanternfly is a fucking invasive species,
Scourge.
and you gotta stomp those motherfuckers. Sorry, that was okay. Not the lantern, the lightning bugs.
Pennsylvania PSA.
But yes, that's that. Yeah, I think there is still they're setting it up to make you like think. Well, and then the fucking creepy lady with the fucking Russian coach of miracle eyebrows. Why? It's bad enough her eyebrows are bleached, but why are they like 2 inches out from her face?
I didn't know that was a lady.
I don't know if it was actually. I shouldn't have said. You know what? That's a good point. That might have been a non-binary character.
They're non-binary. They're certainly non. If anybody's going to be non-binary, that is non-binary.
The other two, I think, were quite clearly. But you're right. The one they did seem. They did present more as non-binary. But like those 3, like witches or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know what that's about.
They were creepy.
Yeah, and they were looking for Sauron, I guess, but they didn't find him. They found. Yeah, he like.
Because he turns them into the fucking butterflies,
Oh, okay.
the moths. That then it's like a callback in a way to Lord of the Rings because those are the ones that he uses to like communicate with the eagles.
Oh yeah. And they also look like ring wraiths too for some reason. Whenever he scourged them.
With like the actual moment.
Yeah.
For a second.
Well, that's an interesting thing too. Is that originally I saw some theories kind of in the early going. That there were theories that Halbrand was the Witch King, that Halbrand was going to become one of the ring wraiths.
Oh.
And I thought that was really interesting. I was like, oh my god, and if he's the Witch King of Angmar, like whatever. But
nah, he's just Sauron.
He's not.
He's just sexy Sauron.
And I thought
Ew! Don't say that. Oh, I thought sexy Sauron.
I thought that I didn't have a problem with his reveal as Sauron either. I thought it was pretty cool how they forged the ring. So like you talk about the long sequences where like they're like I'm pouring the molten metal into the thing.
I didn't mean that. I meant the final look at them where it's literally just looking at the 3 rings.
Like it's just zoom.
Like
it
they're
pans
finished.
out.
Yes, and it does it for like a minute and a half, and it's like that could have been 30 seconds.
I really enjoy.
Interesting how they like kind of talk about ring lore and stuff like that.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. I ate that shit up real good. And I thought it was cool how like he tried to pull Galadriel to to his side. And I have no qualms with him being sexy Sauron. I think that is I think even though like she's an elf and she's dedicated to her cause and this and that.
That feels a little canon too when they talk about Aragorn and Frodo says, I think if you were a servant of the enemy, you would look fairer and feel fouler. And it's very much canon that Sauron can disguise himself to look fair. Now, after the fall of Numenor, he can't. So it is canon. I should say I didn't like Colton's the way he said sexy Sauron. I don't actually have a problem with Sauron disguising himself as someone beautiful.
If you're going to disguise yourself, you should
that
disguise yourself
be
as someone sexy.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Okay.
Unless you're trying to go incognito,
yeah,
then you just like make yourself an average looking guy.
And I do. I mean, as much as I don't like how they kind of got there, I do like the when he talks to Galadriel and says he's going to make her a queen and stronger than the.
And I like the imagery in like in the water. I thought that was really cool.
Yes, I did think that was cool.
Neat.
When they're standing on the raft looking in the water, that part was cool. And you see him kind of revealed. That's true. That was a very cool shot.
Yeah, some good little flourishes here and there in the show.
They did. There was some really great cinematography, some really great shots. I like the map sequence.
Yeah, well, even there's like map transitions and stuff.
Wait,
I
feel like I very much interrupted Andrew, so I want you to be able to finish your thought. Uh-huh. But when we break in it, I want to talk about the openings. I forgot to.
Yeah, well, I mean, we can do it now.
No, I think Andrew is in the middle of something.
Oh, okay.
Keep going, Andrew.
Andrew? Keep on keeping on.
We're talking about sexy Sauron. What else?
I liked, at first I thought Homeboy was a little goofy. Elrond? Is it Elrond?
Well, his voice doesn't. I feel that his voice does not fit his face.
Yeah,
his voice is fine. It helps. If his voice matched his face, it'd be a little.
I think it's just a combination of his facial features with his elven features.
His face is so square.
Yeah.
He's got a very square head. Yeah, he's a square head dude.
Square
yeah.
head.
I
do think he and Durin had like a fun dynamic. I did.
I grew into him though. His character.
Yeah, it got better.
Yeah, it did get. At least in my opinion, I thought I enjoyed his screen time when he came on screen. And so, you're either going to find out about Mithril or you're going to, he's going to go to a fucking hammer competition with the fucking, what's going on here? Yeah. What's going on here?
Also, the way they've been doing this timeline, I think we are going to see him found Rivendell in this show.
That'd be cool.
Which should be really cool.
Yeah.
Because I believe Rivendell is founded in like the fall of Eregion. Because that was a cool thing. I will say, I'm interrupting again, but I'm rereading The Fellowship right now, and there's like a part where they're like, "This used to be called Eregion," and I'm like, "Ooh, there it is."
So it's not. I'm sorry, I didn't know that place was different. I thought that was Rivendell the entire time.
No. So the place where Gil-galad is, where the tree is starting to die, that's Linden, and that's further west. But then where they're actually forging the ring, so that's Eregion. And that's the realm of the Smith, the Elven Smiths. So that's like Celebrimbor's city or whatever. And that is in the time of The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings. That area is called Hollin, and no one lives there anymore. Because kind of spoiler, but Sauron brings war to that area, and basically the Elven Smiths fall, and Eregion is destroyed. But it's south of Rivendell. Okay. So I think in that battle, Elrond flees north and establishes Rivendell.
Cool. Mm-hmm. That is cool.
Yes.
So much lore.
Yeah.
But what else did I like? I thought the dwarves were... there's a lot of stuff to like digest with the dwarves. I thought that they were wildly fascinating and interesting.
Khazad-dûm looks so fucking cool.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, right? They're real cool. I think that I really enjoyed the choreography. Like when Galadriel's like doing her shit, I think it looks really fucking cool.
What do you mean? Like her fighting?
Yeah, like her fighting. Yeah, the way her sword play, all the sword play I thought was really awesome.
The early episodes we got a lot of sword play, right?
Well, and when she's a Numenor, when she's testing, that was really good. Yeah. No, it was very elvish.
Stuff,
very elvish.
And it really speaks volumes about how, that they live a really long fucking time, and
they do.
And she is just all these, I guess thousands of years or hundreds of years or however old she is. She's
thousands. She's thousands.
At this point, she's thousands.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
She's just been a fucking warrior the whole time, which I saw a lot of people complaining that, she was, like obviously, in Lord of the Rings, she's a witch. And this and that. And she's got
she gets that power from the fucking ring.
She gets the power from the ring, and B, she's got all those thousands and thousands and thousands. You know what? Guess what? I don't want to swing a sword anymore. I'm just going to start studying magic and shit. I got this ring.
And that's I felt the same way going into it, that I'm like, her power comes from magic even before that. Like, it's more her like elvish power, and because she comes from Valinor. But I liked the way they did it.
Yeah,
she starts out. I really liked Morfydd Clark. I really did not think I would, and I really did. I thought she was great.
Yeah, talented actress.
I thought she made it her own, but also still was very much Galadriel.
She was very regal, which is, I think that was one really cool thing that they I think they did across the board. And I don't know if it's the way the characters are written or if it's the design of the fucking wardrobe design or what it is. But I thought all the elves as a whole, even if you're like goofy Elrond, or even if you're like stuffy, like head up your ass boss guy, Gil-galad.
Gil-galad. Yeah.
They all felt like we're fucking elves. You know what I mean? They felt regal and timeless, and I thought that was one thing that they captured very well. I think that they captured the proudness of the dwarves really well. I think they captured like the seclusive nature of the Harfoots or the hobbits, and how, they just stick in their lane. I thought that they captured those kinds of characters really well. Or just the archetypes, I guess, is probably the best way to put that.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that.
And the only one that was kind of weird was the it was Elway or I don't know his name. The fucking father. What the fuck's that guy's name?
Elendil?
Which father?
The father of the orcs, the elf that looked
Adar.
off.
Adar.
Adar.
Yeah,
Adar,
I didn't.
He was the only character for me
dark
that
elves are very much a thing, but he didn't do much for me either.
Yeah, he was the only one that just kind of felt like, you got the weird, creepy looking people, right? They're doing their thing. They're pretty much, they don't do shit the entire show. Like burn shit, I guess. But aside from that, they don't do a whole lot. Yeah. Then you've got this guy who's making Mordor. And I guess he's driven to make Mordor he thinks he's doing it for the orcs. Like he's supposed to be a compassionate, like I'm supposed to feel sorry for the orcs because they've been shunned and shit, you know?
But they're also evil.
It doesn't do a whole lot for me. They're just fucking orcs, and you got this guy that, and I don't know, I just don't buy it. So that kind of landed flat. But
okay, yeah.
Holy shit moments include when they fight the ice troll in the beginning. Galadriel kicks ass.
Violent.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
That was pretty fucking cool. And I like the whole like lore where she finds like the sigil inside the fucking on the fucking, what's it called?
Anvil.
On the anvil. Yes, I thought that was really cool. Magic and stuff is really cool. Holy shit moment is obviously the creation of Mordor. That was pretty fucking awesome. Ridiculously awesome. That's like a major holy shit moment for TV. I really like the Balrog sequence. It was just kind of cool for being cool. Like it didn't have any substance, but it was a fucking Balrog.
Yeah. Is that something that will be revisited in this series, do we think, or is that just like there's a Balrog lurking and
I would assume
that'll pop up
yes,
in a few thousand
because
years?
I think part of the fall of Khazad-dûm comes
they dig too deep.
Right, but I think also it comes when Sauron attacks Eregion, because I think he attacks Khazad-dûm too. Probably needless to say, like, it's not canon. Like, the Balrogs don't reappear until...
They're like the same species, right? They're the same race as Gandalf. Is that right?
So they're not Istari, but they are Maiar that were corrupted by Morgoth. And so there were like a fuck ton of them that fought in the original war between
a bunch
Morgoth
of
and the
Balrogs.
elves.
That's terrifying. But I just think that whole concept of, like, we're driven by our greed. We're driven by our greed to keep digging. And digging, right. And we dig too deep, and out of the depths comes the fucking Balrog. That's fucking cool. That is so cool. Anyways, Lord of the Rings is cool shit, and we say it all the time on this podcast. At the end of the day,
that's enough, right?
Yeah.
You know?
At the end of the day, it's all I need is just cool shit. So as long as the cool shit outweighs the goofy shit, or as long as I can grow with the goofy shit, like Elrond, he's a little goofy, but I kind of grow into him. I think he's
not
all
bad.
right.
He's just goofy.
Yeah, he's goofy, and I kind of grow into him by the end of the show. You know, I'm all about, it's cool. It's fine. It's good. It's good. I'm here for it. So bring me season 2. I'm happy about it.
Yeah, I think especially with Elrond, the tough thing is because he is one of those few named characters that we have seen already on screen.
Who was badass in Lord of the Rings. He was awesome.
And obviously this is not obvious. This is not necessarily a prequel to the Lord of the Rings film trilogy, particularly. But you cannot convince me that he and Hugo Weaving are playing the same character. It's just there's no world in which that's true. Whereas I think you could conceivably say that this Galadriel is a younger version of the Galadriel that we meet, later in time.
I think Morfydd Clark has like the presence of Galadriel. She has the like screen dominance, whatever, and like this motherfucker does not have that of Hugo Weaving.
Yeah, it just doesn't have the same sort of vibe about him, I think. But again, he's not bad.
Well,
he really isn't bad.
It was originally supposed to be...
It was supposed to be
Will
fucking
Poulter, right?
Adam Warlock, yeah. Will Poulter.
that fucking weird. Which, of course, he looked fucking weird until he had his weird glow up.
Now he's tall and jacked.
Now he's hot. I don't understand what happened. It's weird. I still don't like looking at him, but he does not look like he did in the
Narnia. And
that man was in Narnia?
We Are the Millers. Yeah, he was Eustace Scrub.
No, he fucking wasn't.
He was.
Which one's used to Scrub?
Oh, he's not in it till the third movie.
I think it was only in one of them.
Wow.
Before they
Voyage
got
of Dawn
canceled.
Treader.
Yeah.
God damn. And then he's in another one.
Oh, okay.
In the books, though.
Oh,
Not movies.
okay. Yeah, not movies, yeah.
Wow. No, I was thinking We Are the Millers.
Mm-hmm. You guys are getting paid?
Talk about goofy looking motherfucker. Maybe they thought this other guy, Ned Stark guy, would. What the fuck is his name? Like maybe they thought he would have a similar.
The casting call is must look goofy as a motherfucker.
And we hope that you'll glow up just like Will Poulter did.
That's funny. Very funny.
Oh,
all right. Any other thoughts, Andrew?
Nah, it's cool. Cool show.
All right. Why don't we talk about the title sequence?
Oh yes, I did want to talk about this. I want to talk about with both. Are we done with everything else?
No, but we can talk about it.
Are you sure?
I just have minor thoughts, but I'll
Why don't you
round
give
it
your
out.
minor thoughts?
I will say both of you have collectively preempted a lot of my major thoughts on this, which is fine.
We do this.
It is what it is. It's the nature of obviously having an additional voice in the room, and certainly an additional voice that is far more knowledgeable about these things. And also, we've shared a few conversations off air.
Also, so we are two halves of the same brain cell.
That's probably true.
We share one brain cell. Not one
true.
brain. We share one brain cell.
So at the risk of I don't want to repeat anything other than, I mean, I think the only thing...
Oh, you can tell us the things that we were right about. We're fine with
I will
right,
say,
Andrew? We like being told right.
In general, I agree. I really, really liked Galadriel. I think I said as much, but Morph Clark was very good. I really enjoyed her. Don't need to harp on the Harfoots. I mean...
It's just too much.
Just too much of them. I
don't overdo it.
I didn't find Nori as annoying as you did, but at the same time, I also don't need more of her. So I guess I'll agree with that.
Was better.
The Gandalf thing, I thought that was fairly well done, even if it was a few too many scenes of him just and accidentally setting shit on fire.
I am peril.
I
am vengeance.
It was the same kind of scene like 4 different times, and I was like, okay, I get it. But I do think it's a very cute idea to have Gandalf have this fondness for hobbits and hobbit folk. I think that's a really neat kind of thing. And the bait and switch, I don't even know if it's a bait and switch, but just the switch of him being fake Sauron versus Halbrand being sexy Sauron, like it I don't know. Those are the kind of things that I would be keen to pay attention to on a rewatch. And I'm not going to rewatch this anytime soon, maybe before season 2 comes along, whenever it does. But I think that I would be curious to see if there are more seeds sown throughout this season than I realized for both of them. Because I never really got the vibe that the stranger was Sauron until the people, the women, whoever, showed up, basically like, you are Sauron, we serve you.
There were 3 witches. I think
three witches. 3 witches. We'll go with that. Yes. So those are things I would be curious to look at with a closer eye. More particularly Halbrand. Like, why the fuck's he just floating around and shit when he first meets Galadriel? Like, what's his fucking deal? Like, is that intentional? Does he know that he's gonna, meet Galadriel and kind of go on this adventure? Is he truly someone who's just like, all right, I served Morgoth in a previous life. Maybe I'm over that shit, and then he just happens upon this opportunity, and that's what reels him back in? Or is he just playing at a bigger game, and we just didn't know it until, obviously, the full reveal? Those are the kind of things that I would be curious to explore and see if there's more revealed within this show. And I'm sure we'll get more of that, obviously, as the show goes on, too. Like, I feel like I saw an interview with, I think Charlie Vickers, I think, is the guy that plays Halbrand. And he basically was like, yeah, I didn't know I was Sauron until, like, we started filming episode 3 or 4. So, like, even in his early appearances, he's just like,
playing his Aragorn wannabe.
And so I would be curious. But I think in the same interview, he basically said, like, we'll see kind of what, like, how Halbrand ended up on that raft or on that, like, stranded with those people at sea.
Right. Like, did he kill them all?
Yeah. I'm curious, like, how does he get there, and then how does that inform how he gets to, obviously, to the point where he's in Eregion, being like, ooh, look at these rings. These are pretty fucking cool, huh?
The sigil, he says he takes it from a dead man. Who's the dead man he takes it from? Is it like hundreds of years earlier? Did he take it from the last descendant, or did he take it from a thief who took it from a thief?
Yeah, I don't know. A lot more lore and a lot more storyline, I think, to be explored there. So I'm curious about that, and I'm curious to see how well they kind of pad that out. Beyond that, Kid sucked. Didn't like the kid, but I did like the Arondir and Bronwyn relationship. I thought the Southlands as kind of a setting building into the eventual Mordor, Mount Doom was very cool. Elrond and Durin were good fun together. Good goofy fun together. And I think my only one criticism, which I think is novel, I don't think anyone has talked about this a whole lot. We've obviously talked about Numenor a bit, and I'll say just comments and criticism. The Numenor setting was fucking awesome. I think it was probably my favorite like singular setting of the series. I liked Muriel. I thought she was an interesting character. Her kind of changing, of whether she's going to go with Galadriel, and then eventually, obviously, taking the ships across the sea to Middle Earth was really neat. I liked Elendil. He was a kind of cool character. I liked the actor. I thought he was just like an interesting character to watch.
He was well cast. I feel like you can absolutely see Elendil as like the ancestor of Aragorn.
Yeah, like he was very cool.
And then, there's like a lot of stuff in the lore about how like even though he like worries about Isildur being his ancestor, that he's like the image of Elendil come again. Like I feel like that they did well. Yeah, in terms of casting of Elendil versus...
Gotcha.
I do like Isildur.
Well,
I like Isildur.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think Elendil, I guess, again, if we're talking about casting in terms of Peter Jackson, he looks more like Viggo Mortensen than the guy that cast Isildur. They cast as Isildur, I would say. And speaking of Isildur, I think it's really cool, to see like a younger Isildur. Obviously, he's someone that's going to have a lot of things to do in the future of the series, which begs the question of why the fuck they would bother with a death fake out with his character. Truly baffling to do it in the first place.
So fucking stupid.
Truly baffling to leave it unresolved as of the end of a first season.
We know he's fucking alive.
It's motherfucking Isildur.
It's stupid.
I mean...
Isildur chops the finger off of Sauron, doesn't he?
Correct.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's stupid.
We know that the character has
the ring is his bane.
As someone that is solely going off of the film, the Peter Jackson trilogy, I know Isildur's got a big part to play. Like, it's very heavily emphasized in the beginning of that film, and obviously the notion that Aragorn is Isildur's heir throughout. Like, something's going on with that character. So, like, yeah, I know he didn't die in a fucking collapsing, burning building. Like, fuck off with that. I just thought that was
fucking
feels
stupid.
That's one thing.
It's
I'm
cheap.
like, this is a waste of screen time. It's a boring TV tactic that like. Maybe it would make sense for another character, even if it is kind of cheap emotional ploy. But like here, come on.
I think we talked about like the end of House Dragon being like, oh, I can't wait till season 2. Like House of Dragon season 2, I'm gonna be fucking ready to watch HBO live. Watch that happen. Rings of Power, I'll watch, but like I'm not gonna be like
it's not as urgent
for the first episode.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
I'm not.
I feel the same way.
Hyped for it. So
yep. So anyway, that's my last thought. I'll finish it with an original thought. So then we can. Now talk about the openings. The title sequence.
Which is about both of them. We're ending both with the beginning of both.
That's right. Did we actually talk about the Game of Thrones one?
No,
with House of Dragon?
We did a few days ago.
Oh, I see.
That's why I wanted to talk about it today.
I'm conflating the conversations.
I wrote it
All right,
on
anyway.
my sheet to remember, and then
yes, go ahead.
So the openings, the themes. So obviously they're both kind of callbacks to the other, obviously with Rings of Power, Howard Shore composed it, even though Bear McCready did the rest of it. So that's, fun that we've got this callback, but it's a really beautiful score. And then House of Dragons just like, let's just use the same fucking song. Like, it's iconic. It's great, but it's Game of Thrones. You don't hear that and think House of the Dragon. Now, I think there's a way to change it, where you change maybe like a couple riffs and you change some instruments, where it sounds it's the same melody, but it's different. And I think
put it in a different key. Do something.
Right. But the fact that they literally just use the same fucking music is so fucking lazy and stupid, especially because they use the same style. Now, you're already using the same style of opening, although it's not a map, and it's just this like the sigil stuff, which like fine, that didn't whatever, but you're already using that style. It's not as good as the map. Change the fucking song. It is fucking stupid that they use the same fucking song. I think it's really dumb. Now, Rings of Power, I think the song is great. I think it's very beautiful. I think it fits the vibe. I think it has that Howard Shore magic. However, the visuals.
That's the one where they do the I can't think of the
it's
technical
just a bunch
term.
Of rocks.
They do the vibrating thing and it does different designs, different frequencies.
Yeah, it feels like a fucking, the magnetic thing where you put the hair on the guy. I didn't like it. What is the point? We don't see sand anywhere in Rings of Power. We don't see the rocks, these little rocks anywhere in Rings of Power. The symbols that it makes. Now, some of them are noticeable. Like, you see the 2 trees of Valinor. Okay, fine. But, like, guess what they never make with those little rocks? They never make that sigil of Sauron that you were talking about, Andrew, that she finds on the anvil. They never make that. They never make the sigil that Halbrand has on his little thing. Like, it's just stupid. It has nothing to fucking do with the show. And I think there are so many options there. Show forging. It's called the Rings of Power. Show rings being forged. Show the map. Do the map on here.
Yeah,
it's a huge part of the show, and it would be really helpful to see that map again, because that world was different than the one we're used to, where the whole west of Middle Earth is the Shire. It's not the Shire in this time. I just thought it was really lazy, and it felt like it was just like trying to buy into some minimalist bullshit. And I didn't think it was pretty. I didn't think it was meaningful. I thought it was stupid. And
I thought it was pretty cool.
I thought it was a waste of Howard Shore's beautiful score.
It was pretty. It's a good song.
I think if you're obsessed with
the score is
rocks
great. It's just
or whatever.
The visuals
I thought the music was great. I thought the score was gorgeous. I thought it was beautiful. I thought it fit. But if you're going to do sand and rocks, which already has no relation to the show, relate it somehow. But they didn't.
It's actually called Lord of the Rocks of Power.
Oh, okay. I missed that. Rocks.
I don't know how you missed that.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So, anyway, those are my feelings on the opening themes, and how they both failed when they had so much potential.
Yeah, I generally concur. I mean, honestly, I might even say I like the Rings of Power one better, because at least it's got fucking neat music that's not just Game of Thrones. Very good. But I think both of them are
Howard Shore.
Uninspired in different ways and disappointing.
Yes,
especially relative to the other aspects of the shows. Okay,
and leading to a tangent, what's your favorite opening credits of any show?
Because we haven't been here long enough.
No. Fuck off.
You're usually the one that gives me shit about that.
I don't care at this point. I've already done this twice.
Favorite opening credits?
Favorite opening credits for a TV show?
Ever? Of all time?
Oh, boy, That's a tough one. Holy shit.
I know what you're going to say.
All right. Read my mind for me.
Daredevil.
Yeah, it's one of the first ones that comes to mind.
They're excellent. I remember my best friend was working on a design thing, God, years ago. It must have been like 2015, 2016. And she was like, listen, you watch a lot of TV. Like, tell me what. And I was like, Daredevil, because it's so beautiful. The music is great. The design of it, like the drip. Yeah.
Can you think of another example that's maybe not as recent as Daredevil that also is very good for me?
Mad Men.
That I have a fondness
Mad
for?
Men.
It's also a good one.
Excellent.
Is that
not
recent,
what you were thinking about?
No.
Oh, X-Men.
Fuck yeah.
X-Men.
Ringtone.
Yeah,
it's my ringtone now.
It's pretty excellent. It's a good one.
Yeah. What about you, Andrew?
Going to the first, we'll start at the beginning. The fucking Power Ranger theme song is fucking...
Oh, yeah. Fair.
Fucking
that's an
awesome. X-Men is most excellent. I really enjoyed the... Did you guys ever watch Hannibal?
Mm-mm. But I did hear... I heard about the opening credits, though.
Yeah, that's pretty strong. I like that one a lot. Daredevil is a good one. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd say those. Those are the most noteworthy, anyways. At least off the top of my head. If I was asked, I would say. Oh, Stranger Things is pretty fucking excellent too. I like the Stranger Things theme. Yeah,
short and sweet.
That one's
but
good.
Yeah, that's true.
Like that synth
honestly,
beat.
Chuck, I think is really good.
Chuck's
it's a great play on Cake's short skirt, long jacket, and I think just the visuals are really fun of like the nerd herd turned spy, whatever. I think Chuck has really great opening credit. That was my ringtone for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
MASH is pretty good. It's just clips from the show, but it's Suicide is Painless is a song, so that's pretty good.
Westworld, the first season of Westworld was pretty awesome.
Good
Westworld-
call.
Westworld's a
yeah,
good one.
Westworld had
Yeah.
a great.
I was thinking
that's
about
true.
that, actually, yeah.
That's a great call. Yeah, Westworld had great because it was the piano.
The mark is like, do you want to watch it every time?
That's the key.
And not
it.
all of them hit that mark. Like
Right.
neither House of the Dragon nor Rings of Power hit that mark.
Like I think about ones that are kind of iconic, but I skipped a lot. Was House of Cards had the really iconic music with the flash, like the different shots of DC, and Homeland had like clips from the current season as well as this like jazz.
Yeah.
And there was this whole thing in the early scenes with her dad and jazz, but like got to the point where I just fucking skipped that shit.
Yeah.
Daredevil I never skipped because I loved watching it.
That's pretty good.
Anyway, sorry for that tangent. Anyway, continue.
I don't know. There's a whole lot for me to continue with. I think I've said my piece. I will
Watch both shows, both great.
Yeah, I'll say final thoughts for anyone besides just literally that. House of the Dragon, Lord Jesus Christ, Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power. Maybe
very Knives Out, or I mean Glass Onion and Knives Out adventure. I said this before. It doesn't need to be called The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power.
Yeah,
just call it The Rings of Power. Come on, fuck off.
All right, I will ask one final question. Which of these two shows did you prefer? To pit them against each other. These shows that are big fantasy shows, maybe different in many ways. But
Can I go first?
Sure.
Is that okay, Andrew?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. So, in terms of lore, in terms of universe, I absolutely prefer Middle-earth. I prefer Lord of the Rings. The Hobbit is my favorite book. I fucking love Lord of the Rings. I love everything that Tolkien has done. Literally, like, we pull out our Christmas decorations. I pull out my Tolkien Father Christmas book where he wrote all these letters to his kids as Father Christmas. Like, I fucking love that shit. However, I think as standalone shows, by a bit, I think House of the Dragon is better. I think it feels more polished. I think the casting is better. I think the writing is better. And so even though I like kind of the vibe of Lord of the Rings and Middle-earth better, I think House of the Dragon is better.
Andrew, do you agree or disagree?
I think he disagrees.
No, actually, I mean, I can recognize that. I think House of the Dragons is a more tighter made thing. I definitely enjoyed one more than I enjoyed the other. I enjoyed Lord of the Rings more than I enjoyed House of the Dragon.
That's fair.
I do think House of the Dragon is. I think it's.
Not your vibe as much.
I think it's more of a polished product, is what I think. I think that I do see what you're saying with the writing. I can acknowledge that. But I think one was infinitely more fun. I enjoyed one a lot more, and I enjoyed pushing play on the next one a lot more.
Yeah, Rings of Power is a bit lighter, isn't it?
Yeah.
Definitely.
Especially
House
in
of
a lot
Dragons.
of it.
Not much humor.
Pretty oppressive and brutal in many ways.
And
It's
I
not an
usually don't have
uplifting
it.
show.
I don't have an issue with that. It's all in how I watched it, and
Yeah.
that's why I don't have an issue saying that I think one is better than the other, like
Yeah.
critically better than the other. But I enjoyed one more. That I would say a sizable difference in enjoyment. I enjoyed one a whole lot more. But I will be there as soon as they say here's season 2 of both of these. I'll be there, and I'll be happy to watch them. So that's kind of my 2 cents on those.
Yeah, I mean, I think I enjoyed, and I do think House of the Dragon is a better made show overall. I enjoyed it more, is what I mean. But at the end of the day, they really are kind of distinct entities, obviously released in a span of time very close to each other, so it's natural to kind of put them against each other or next to each other.
Asking, do you prefer the Prestige or the Illusionist? It's not fair.
The answer is the Prestige.
I think the Prestige is the better movie, but I think I like the Illusionist more. You get a happy ending.
Illusionist was fine.
Illusionist has a happy ending.
I don't know.
I think I like the Prestige.
I don't know.
I think Prestige.
Well, it is a classic case of two fucking things that are close to each other coming out around the same time frame, same year, whatever it is.
Different vibes.
And when you really look at them with the microscope, you're like, they're really not the same. They're really kind of catering to different
totally
audiences.
Different.
They're trying to do different things. Like, it's a really different thing at the end of the day. And I think it's absolutely the same case here. It's true here. So it really depends on what you're looking for. You know, I think if you're looking for a lighter Lord of the Rings, not well, as I say, Lord of the Rings-esque type thing. Obviously, it's quite literally also Lord of the Rings, but it has those vibes. That's kind of more to your taste. Whereas if you're a big Game of Thrones person and you're kind of really craving that something that kind of captures the magic of those earlier seasons, House of the Dragon's a pretty good approximate for that. So there's some value to be found. I tell you what, I think in both of these shows. So
I think the reason why I did not enjoy House of the Dragon as much as Lord of the Rings, or even Game of Thrones. The things that I enjoyed about Game of Thrones were that there were hints of magic in a world that no longer recognized magical stuff, right? Like there was a world that was devoid of its magic, and then those things slowly got introduced and put back in. That's not the world we're living in House of the Dragons. We get a political drama that happens to have dragons.
Yes. There's no politics, not really. I mean, vaguely with Elrond and Gil-galad, but like, there's no politics.
Barely.
Yeah.
Barely. You know what I mean? And so those fantasy elements that I really enjoyed in Game of Thrones, like the mystique about what's going to happen, or what are they doing, or this witch out in the middle of the desert's doing this fucking crazy thing. What the fuck's happening? Like, you know, all that stuff was really cool in Game of Thrones, and it's just not there in House of the Dragon. That's just totally fine. It's just a different kind of show.
Yeah, I mean,
the magic is just the dragons.
I mean, at the end of the day, one's a drama, one's a fantasy.
Bingo. That's it.
I would say.
One's a political drama
it's
a
drama with fantastical elements in it.
All right, fine.
But
I'll
like
allow that.
you could tell a version of the same story without the dragons, and it would be about the same.
No, you're right.
Lord of the Rings, but stripped of the fantastical elements,
would be nothing.
What the fuck would you have?
Right. What would it be?
No, you're right. You're right. That's fair.
So,
that's fair.
Anyway. All right. Shall we catch up on the things that we've been up to?
I want Andrew to go first.
We've got a little bit of a list on our end. So.
Oh, okay. All right. So I've been playing a shit ton of this game called Marvel Snap.
You motherfuckers, unfucking believable.
We're unhinged.
Sarah says I'm obsessed. She really hates it.
Me too. Oh my God, Sarah and I got to talk about this. I challenged him today to not play it. Motherfucker lasts about 5 fucking minutes.
Today.
Give me your fucking phone. Let's find out, you motherfucker.
She's gonna put me on the spot.
Listen,
I would
this
say
is one of those times where I think your mom will not
today.
be mad at me for swearing a lot on this podcast, because she would probably agree with me.
Well, it's either play Marvel
both these
Snap
men,
or compulsively buy Funko Pops. There's only two things that I could do in my life.
These two men played this game constantly.
Where do we go?
I think they both play it while they brush their teeth. Earlier, I got Colton to agree that brother marrying sister was a normal thing because he was so distracted by not paying attention to me. Probably because of this stupid phone.
I wasn't actually playing the game at the time.
Yeah, but like, close enough. Anyway, all right, Andrew, how much have you played today?
I have most used Snap, 12 hours and 20 minutes.
Wait, no, but I'm. But,
oh wait,
no,
that's for the week. I'm sorry. Today I have played for 1 hour and 33 minutes.
Colton has played for 1 hour and 21 minutes.
That's like a new low for me.
Right
that's
there,
pretty
bro.
Fucking good.
To be fair,
what's your weekly? What's your week?
I will say about half an hour of that was between the hours of midnight and 3 a.m. So most of that was. This is actually good for you today. It is. You did well.
I finished all the missions. The season's coming to an end. There's not much to do.
Week did he play?
Yeah, my most used app this week has been that game for 12 hours.
20 hours.
So for the whole, so when you just at the top you hit week instead of day.
Yeah.
And then for Snap is your most used.
Yeah.
And how many hours?
12 hours and 20 minutes.
Are you ready for Colton's?
20.
Yeah.
20
what
plus.
is it?
24 hours and 2 minutes. This motherfucker has played this game.
Dude's cranking it out.
That Colton, you have a
problem. I hit vibranium. All right, that's all I'm gonna say right now.
Did you really?
I hit vibranium. Yeah.
I've lost every game I played today. I think I dropped at least 14 points today.
I'm gonna have to put like a child lock on this or whatever.
I'm just having fun.
It's good.
Not spending money. Not harming anyone.
Except your
fun.
battery.
I'm getting
my
you,
battery's
I'm
constantly
getting
dead.
I got a charger.
I'm getting
for those
you to
things.
agree that incest is totally chill and cool.
And I wasn't playing the game at that time.
Whatever.
So Sarah
Trying
and
to
I
prepare
also
for this episode. Anyway,
we caught the flu over Thanksgiving. We drove all the way to Blue Ridge, and we spent the entire
Had a hell of
week
a time.
bedridden. Yeah, it was terrible.
You guys inspired me. I went 2 days ago. I got my COVID bivalent booster in my left arm and my flu shot in my right arm. Because I don't want that
flu
shit.
That flu was only a couple steps below the COVID. Like, it was a fucking hard flu.
I was telling you guys, I was telling Sarah the other day, I swear, when we had the flu, it was worse than COVID. Now, it was different, but like for us, COVID, it was like a week of being sick, and that fucking sucked. But with the flu, it was all those symptoms, but crammed into like 2 days, just really intense. And it was just awful. The flu is legit. It's awful.
It sucks. Yeah, it sucks.
It does.
So we didn't do a whole lot in Blue Ridge, but we did come back. This can be said on the podcast now. Sarah is with child. She was with baby.
with child.
Spoilers, audience. We have known this for quite some time.
In fact, Andrew spilled the beans on the podcast
and
already.
Colton had to edit it out.
Subsequently cut it from all versions.
I did too in our initial discussion of House of the Dragon.
Yeah, that's true.
When we were talking about the horrific episode 1 scene. I was like, don't let Sarah watch this. And I was like, oh shit,
that was
pretty.
Edit this out. It's pretty hard to watch.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
Modern Madness is much better.
We've got yes.
Baby
we have confirmed that it's a little boy. Little boy will be named Bennett Thomas Meadows. Thomas for adopted I haven't been formally adopted. I haven't done the paperwork.
But for your dad's last name.
Yep, dad's last name. And Bennett being for Benjamin, but we can't name baby Benjamin because my sister's boyfriend is named Benjamin. That'd be weird. And Sarah's friend's last name who passed away, her last
Bennett,
name
right?
was Bennett. Yep. So
it's like Bennett, a touching tribute to two friends.
Yeah, kind of merged into one deal. He also happens to be the name of the last name of the SEC championship quarterback for the Bulldogs.
I said something about this.
He did. He did say this.
I did.
He did fucking say this. We are not naming our child Kyle from
Kyle. Name both our kids Kyle.
Kyle.
Well, and isn't Kyle Trask named after a football field? Or is it the other Kyle?
Oh, no, I think you're right. I think it was Kyle Field because he was born in Texas, I think. Texas A&M has, they play at Kyle Field.
Someone
I think you're right. I think you're right. No, I think it was Trask.
Yeah.
Not Pitts.
Good God.
Yeah. So that's happened. Anyways, we were nervous wreck in Blue Ridge because she spent the week sick, and I'm not. Yeah. I don't know a whole lot about babies and medicine.
Yeah,
stuff,
you don't want to fuck with that. No, I think it was smart that you guys went to the hospital. I think you don't want to mess with that because pregnant people, their immune systems are just totally out of whack because it's two people.
And she had to suffer like twice as long because she didn't have any medicine. So
and your body it's twice as much work, but also it's more vulnerable. So. Mm-hmm. No, I think it was good that you guys went for sure.
We got back. We got back and we went to Baby Doctor, and this was our 12-week. This past when we recorded the podcast initially, when we tried to record the podcast, it was kind of like a celebratory. I got fucked up kind of thing because we went to the Baby Doctor that morning, and it was the end of the stress because we could see baby moving, we could see baby punching around and doing all that shit inside the womb. And baby's totally okay, even though Sarah was all fucked up for a week. So it's
all
okay.
the right numbers of fingers and toes.
Yeah. I keep telling myself when I get stressed out about this stuff is like people have been having babies since we lived in caves, right?
Correct.
Like it's okay. Baby, everything will be okay.
Modern medicine is very good.
Yes. So baby coming down the corner or down the way or whatever, that's coming. So that's awesome. I've got to redo the room.
Which room?
The one across the way
Sarah's
from
office? Okay.
Yeah. So we decided we're gonna put carpet in there. Just fluffier, clean carpet, and that way it's kind of like soft for baby to roll around and whatnot. Yeah.
And you got a little time there because I'm sure baby will be in your room to start.
That's right. She's due June 7th is when she's due. Nice. So we've got a few more months with the little baby in the oven, so that's cool.
Woo.
And we started a show called Dead to Me on the.
I'm sorry, that transition just incredible, incredible. Dead to Me. I actually have great interest in this show. It looks really good.
Yeah, it's the most apt comparison I can give it is Barry. It's got
when
the
it just
same
aired
humor.
its third and final season.
Third, I know that Christina Applegate got
she
has
has
MS now, and it affected her shooting and stuff. So I don't know if it's the last season or not.
I assume it's done, right? Is it done? Yeah, it's done after a third season. Yeah.
Oh, okay. But we're in season 3. It's pretty quick to watch.
It's final season.
Yeah, 30-minute episodes. It's pretty snappy.
Linda Cardellini, right?
Yeah, she's great. She's awesome. It also has a guy from Sonic and X-Men.
James Marsden?
James Marsden?
Yep, that's it. Yep,
I did not know James Marsden was in Dead to Me. I had no idea.
He's pretty great in it. I actually really like him.
He's honestly a very underrated actor. He's done some bad projects, but he's actually... Honestly, his best role? Hairspray. The man is fucking hilarious. He is fucking hilarious in Hairspray. Classic
He's pretty
line.
good in
Hey, baby, you look like you could use a stiff one. Incredible. It's a great movie. It's very well done. Highly recommend.
What else have we been doing? Oh, I finished a book called We're Pregnant. What's the subtext?
Oh, Lord.
I finished this book a coworker got for me. It's called We're Pregnant, the First Time Dad's Pregnancy Handbook.
Oh, that's cute.
Yep.
You finished
it's
it?
full of, yep, I finished listening. I finished listening to it on the way to Georgia before I got crippled with the flu.
So they bought you the book, but you didn't actually read it. You just listened.
I listened to it, and I followed it around for the first couple of chapters, and then I said,
spine of the copy.
Maybe he can send that to you in a few years.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll ship it to you.
In a few years. In a few years. In a few years. It's gonna be a little while. I'll probably get a second dog before I get a first kid.
Did I tell you I finished the first Mistborn?
No, I don't think so.
I don't recall.
I can say that Mistborn, if I have not said it, Mistborn is... I don't like it as much as I like...
The main...
Stormlight.
Yeah.
Stormlight Archive, right? The characters are cool. I do like certain characters a whole lot more than I like others. But the way that the first book is framed, it's framed as kind of like a... It's framed as a... what do they call those? It's not like a theft. It's a I can't think of my words. Like, the Italian Job is a what kind of movie?
Heist.
Yeah. Yes, it's framed kind of as like a heist. And so the way that it establishes its characters, it's kind of like, hey, we're going to like building this team and stuff like that. So you get different little tidbits from different characters from the like main point of like one or two characters. And those characters are pretty compelling. The powers are really cool, like the magic systems, and they're really well thought out.
Also Brandon Sanderson though, or is it it is. Okay.
No, it's Sanderson, yeah. Okay. I think Mistborn was like the main like his first.
I think he wrote the first Mistborn trilogy probably before even the White Kings.
Is it the same universe or is it just totally different? Oh, it is.
No, same universe. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So
sort of.
I haven't gotten
Not
to
same
the point
world,
where
but the same universe.
Exactly. Anyways, I'm on the second book and it's pretty good. I like it. I like that thing. I think that's mostly it. I know you guys said you had a list, but I feel like I've been going on and on and on.
Mistborn's
not
a little
at all.
shorter and zippier, I feel
I
like,
love
than
this
Stormlight,
shit.
right? Would you agree with that?
Totally agree. It's a lot easier of a read. It's a lot more approachable. Like you can hop right in, and it's still Sanderson, right? So he's not hand-holdy, but it's much more condensed in the way that it explains its systems and stuff. And it's like I said, it's a lot more approachable. I didn't understand what the fuck was going on with Way of Kings until like a third of the way through the book.
Yeah, it takes a bit of time for it to click.
Yeah, but once it clicks, it's out. It's ridiculous. And those books are awesome. They're very awesome books. And I'm excited to be in the middle of Mistborn. I do have Elantris, which I'll end up reading once I finish all the Mistborn stuff. But I think I'm a third of the way through the second book right now. So moving along at a pretty good clip. So should be through them.
You mentioned that Sarah was watching Christmas Vacation. Have you guys been watching any other Christmas stuff? And also, have you been watching that thing where Chip and Joanna are doing a castle or something?
What? I had no idea about that.
Oh my God, yes. Apparently there's like some new Chip and Joanna show. I saw an ad for it. I think it was at Thanksgiving. That they're renovating a fucking castle.
Stop.
Or something.
What show is this?
I don't know. I just saw an ad for it. Colton's looking it up now, but
it's got to be on
Christmas
Discovery
things.
TV.
Oh, I'm sure. Discovery Plus, but
literally called Fixer Upper the Castle.
Fixer Upper the Castle. It's a fucking castle, Andrew.
I'm all about that shit. Yeah.
Well, I think we use your guys' Discovery Plus now. So.
I was say it looks like it's all on Discovery Plus. So.
But Christmas things. Watched anything Christmassy?
No, we're tomorrow morning when I wake up, we have to get all the Christmas stuff out of the attic.
Are you getting a Christmas tree? Do you guys get real trees down there?
We were gonna go to the forest and chop one down in Blue Ridge. But
alas.
Yeah. So anyways, it's two fake Christmas trees this year.
Real trees are fucking expensive. It is ridiculous.
But they smell so nice.
I
smell
know
like
they
Christmas.
do, but alternatively, get some.
You missed.
And you know what's really cool?
Body Works, unfortunately.
Yeah.
You get a real tree, and we have all these like critter ornaments. So like acorns and like fucking squirrels and birds and stuff, and we put them all in the real tree, and it's really cool. I like that.
We talked about getting one this year, but they're so fucking expensive. Maybe next year.
Yeah.
We'll watch Christmas. Sarah did a really awesome job of watching scary stuff with me this year, so I will. I'm hopping on board watching a bunch of Christmas movies for her. So that's.
Well, I am very into Christmas time, so happy to send you my favorites as well.
I'm excited to watch the Christmas special with the Guardians of the Galaxy. I haven't seen that yet.
Yeah, we haven't sat down for that either.
And then Christmas Story 2.
Yeah, whatever it's actually called. Yeah. But yeah, I'm curious about it. We'll give it a look.
Mid how I always start the Christmas season, which is the movie Miracle, which is not a Christmas movie. It's about the.
Is that about the horse?
No, that's Seabiscuit.
Oh.
Miracle is about the hockey team, the 1980 U.S. hockey team. It's a fucking great. It's an excellent movie.
It's a very good movie.
It's a very good movie, whether you like hockey or not. It's just like really good and like really like. I don't know. It's a great movie, and it has a really great Christmas scene that like always like puts me in the Christmas spirit. So it's how I kind of kick off Christmas. So we're like in the middle of that. But.
I'm a diehard guy myself.
Fair for fair. I do recommend Miracle though, and it's on Disney Plus.
It is indeed. Yeah, we've been watching a few things on our end.
We have.
This is obviously over the past couple weeks, maybe a little bit longer than that. But going down the line,
first.
We'll start with movies. Obviously,
lots of rewatches.
Mostly rewatches. In fact, one exception to that.
We finally watched Goblet of Fire.
Yep, Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire.
Possibly the worst Harry Potter movie.
It's in contention.
It might be. Well, no, the worst Harry Potter movie is the last one.
Part 2?
Yeah.
Deathly Hallows?
Deathly Hallows. But this might be the second worst.
Yeah, it was pretty rough.
I finished these books ages ago.
I'm knocking on the door of finishing Order of the Phoenix. So then I'll have 2 more to go.
And Order of the Phoenix is legitimately a great fucking movie.
Yeah, but we're not there yet. We watched Goblet of Fire instead.
It's bad.
They all got long-ass, shaggy hair.
And they all become whiny,
annoying,
bitchy teenagers.
Whiny teenagers.
That's really all we got to say about it.
It's not good.
But other rewatches in a fucking... franchise. We watched Back to the Future.
Yeah, we watched number 1.
And I don't actually remember what triggered it. I think I wanted to watch a comfort movie. Like I wanted to watch something that I'd seen before and that I loved. And so we watched 4K.
I was gonna say,
first time watching the 4K.
First time I got in the 4K set. Probably for Christmas a couple years ago. And
it's
it looks
absolutely
fucking great.
Beautiful. What a great fucking movie. Great fucking franchise. I owned a box set. I think you owned a different box set.
I had a Blu-ray box set.
And then we had this box. Like this is, as a couple, this is our third box set of Back to the Future. What a fucking great movie.
They're awesome.
Just fucking incredible. And I will, whenever you guys want to do that bonus episode, I will happily watch 2 and 3 again because it just...
Back to the Future trilogy
God, it just fucking holds up.
It's just a matter of time until we get around and do it. Yeah.
So fucking good.
It's a great film. Infinitely rewatchable, infinitely enjoyable.
I could put it on right now and watch it again, even though we just watched it a few weeks ago.
I agree. It's just one of those movies.
It's so good.
Mm-hmm.
Another rewatch was an annual thing.
It's a movie that you have some sort of fondness for, it seems.
It is my favorite movie. It is my absolute favorite movie, and I watch it every Thanksgiving because that's
about
the first.
Love.
And beauty, truth, and freedom.
Mm-hmm.
But above all things, love. Moulin Rouge.
Uka buka se umula suswa.
This is also part of the
annual
tradition.
I knew it was
It's a package deal. So what happened when you married me is you have to listen to Andrew do that every year.
But anyway, yes, it was the first time I ever saw Moulin Rouge. Like a friend had recommended it to me, and I was at my grandparents', and it happened to be on TV at Thanksgiving. And I started watching it, and then people wanted to watch something else, so I asked my grandma if I could go watch it in her bedroom, and she said yes. And so I watched it on this like tiny fucking TV, and I fucking loved it. And it's my favorite movie, and it's absolute chaos and ridiculous and silly and funny, but it's also just beautiful and heartbreaking, and I just love it. I cry every year.
Call me Mona Lisa tonight.
Not even close. Not even close. But it had a little extra significance this year just because it's what, we exited the aisle during our wedding to the original song from It Come What May. And a last minute addition to Colton's vows was lyrics from Come What May. So it hit a little different this year. And
extra significance this year, particularly.
But it's just a great movie, and it's very much worth rewatching, and it's just really fucking good. So, other rewatch we did was in preparation for Colton to see Wakanda Forever the third time, for me to see it the second time, is we rewatched Black Panther with my parents.
Back to the first one.
Which I had seen the first one with them. My parents are not Marvel movie people. Like, they have not seen any other Marvel movies. But they had, when Black Panther came out, they were like, we want to go see this. And so I like kind of gave them basics about T'Challa and like stuff from Civil War. And then I went and saw the first one with them. So then we rewatched the first one, and they're with the assumption they're going to go see the second one. But what a great movie. Just, I mean,
this is good.
Black Panther is just a fucking fantastic film. Just iconic, and nothing will kind of ever, I think, reach the cultural significance that movie had, and continues to have. But I think it helped make the rewatch of Wakanda Forever kind of more.
No, it was good to go
emotionally impactful, and I think also, kind of unfairly to Wakanda Forever to compare it to. I think you have some really beyond Chadwick even being absent, some really sharp differences between the two. But we watched.
God, I wept. I wept so much in that second movie. We went and
saw Wakanda Forever. What, like 3 days? 3 days after watching the first.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, 3 days.
That sounds about right. Yep.
Which was good to see it again for sure. And you guys have already talked through it. I know.
We spent some time on it.
Well,
for sure.
I will say, not nearly as good as the first one. There were a lot of things I do differently, annoyed with the timeline, but overall, a very good movie. And I think the best thing about it was no more. Just a great, great fucking villain.
Cool Khan.
Yeah. And then that very next day, we went and saw in the theaters. We went and saw Glass Onion, the Knives Out mystery.
I'd like to see if it was playing tomorrow. It's not, so it must be on Netflix.
No, so it was in the theaters for a week, or less than 6 days, right? Yeah. And it'll be on Netflix in a few weeks, though.
Yeah, I think Christmas time, roughly.
Yeah, and
on Netflix.
Highly recommend it.
We'll probably watch it again.
It was great.
We'll cover
I would
it,
definitely watch it again.
And we talked about obviously covering it with a theatrical window, but I think the flu kind of fucked your timeline up for things. So
Indeed.
I think it did enough differently from Knives Out to like stand on its own, but I thought it was excellent.
Still feeling like
it was great.
It's
still
just feeling
fun.
like a sequel without just being a rehash.
It's just fucking
in any way.
fun. It's just a murder mystery where there's a lot of mocking of famous rich people and, saying fuck you to stupid rich people. And it was great.
It's good.
Good time.
Definitely.
Highly recommend.
I think we'll rewatch.
Janelle Monáe, my queen. My God, she's fantastic. And Daniel Craig continues to be. I mean, my God, did anyone think that man would like really find his stuff in like a Southern gay detective post James Bond? But like that's his. I hope he becomes known for Benoit Blanc and not James Bond because it's great.
Yeah, it's
so fun.
It's very fun. I look forward to rewatching it, and I look forward
to the next one.
Well, obviously yes, but it, as was the case with the first one, there's enough concealed.
You want to rewatch
plain
it.
sight in a first view that a rewatch, I think, will let you pick up on a few different things.
For sure.
So I'm curious to give that another look when it does come out on Netflix, obviously available to the masses and stuff.
I'll come in and do a listener's corner. And
then at that point, obviously, Angela will have had an opportunity to talk about it, and we'll do a fucking episode on it. That'll be the plan.
Just fucking fun.
It's very fun. It's a very fun, enjoyable film.
Every once in a while, we have these nights where I'm like, I just want to watch some fun blockbuster. And the one time I was like, I want to watch something that's like Ocean's 11, but that's not Ocean's 11. And Colton was like, I've got the movie for you. And it was Logan Lucky. And it was like a heist, but it had Daniel Craig in it. And it was
that's good.
Using an accent.
Perfect. Yes, that's what, yes, because I said I want Daniel Craig with an accent.
Not a British accent.
Daniel Craig with an accent and a heist movie. And he was like, hold on, I've got it. And it was Logan Lucky, and it was fucking perfect.
That was a good one.
But I feel like that's just the idea. Like, you just want to watch a fun fucking movie that's like interesting and not just stupid, but like I put it in the same category as Logan Lucky, Ocean's 11, Fast 5, Knives Out, Glass Onion. Like it's just fucking fun, like a popcorn movie to just fucking put it on and enjoy yourself. Ryan Johnson, I want to watch that show, Poker Face.
Yeah.
Yep. Poker Face. But it looks great. I'm. This made me more hyped for that too, which I think is January 1st, or no, sooner. No, sooner.
I don't know. Is it? I didn't realize that.
Something's January 1st. I keep getting these fucking Peacock ads because it's on Peacock. It's going to be on Peacock.
Yeah, no, I knew that. I didn't realize it was coming that soon, though. If so.
Something's coming out January 1st that I want to see on Peacock. I think it might be that.
Maybe.
I think it's January 1st.
Maybe. I don't know.
Anyway, Colton's been watching some shit without me.
Well, I was going to say, before I get into that, is there anything that you've been watching without me you want to talk about?
Oh, I've just been watching a lot of Law and Order SVU.
How many seasons would you say?
Shh, we're not going to talk about that. Too many. It's a great show. Holds up. I suck Colton in. I suck my parents in.
I regularly end up watching
a few episodes.
Episode a day, basically.
It's very good. It's a great show. It really is. It's just very addictive, and it's just easy to put on as like background noise. So
something addictive.
Shut up. He's gonna get into Marvel Snap. But I will say that I also have been playing Beat Saber.
Yeah,
which is a great game.
The Lizzo pack,
and we got the Lizzo pack, and we didn't actually buy it yet, but I do want to buy the weekend. I keep getting ads for the weekend, but just a couple songs. Mm-hmm. Really fun game. Kind of gets you moving.
Yeah, he's got it on his Oculus, I think.
Oh,
yeah, I do.
It's a great game. Yeah, we got the Fall Out Boy pack, the Lady Gaga pack, part of the Billie Eilish pack. It's a fun game, and then I've also been rereading for the bajillionth time Lord of the Rings. So read The Hobbit, almost done with Fellowship, and then I'll go on to Two Towers and Return, of course. And then I did read. I don't know. So in the vein of House of the Dragon and Fire and Blood, I had years ago read maybe a half of the Silmarillion. It's very dense. It's very boring. It's hard to get through. It's like I said, like those early Bible, so and so had this kid, and that kid had this kid, and this kid, whatever. But I finally went back and listened to the rest as an audiobook, and I did finish the Silmarillion finally. And I do think it is better consumed as an audiobook.
Okay.
So, yeah, I think that's pretty much everything I've been reading or consuming. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. Sorry. One more thing.
All right.
vinyls. We got some Christmas vinyls.
We did, yeah. We have a couple.
And that has been really fun. We got Charlie Brown. We had bought Charlie Brown Christmas ages ago.
Earlier this year.
April.
Yeah.
But very fun. Vince Guaraldi trio, Charlie Brown Christmas, and then a Frank Sinatra Christmas vinyl, and then not Christmas, but got Japanese Breakfast, Jubilee,
yep,
on vinyl, it's just great. So, yeah,
our vinyl buying.
Thanks a lot,
continues.
Andrew.
And we have Mr. Meadows to blame for that.
The gift that keeps on giving.
That's
we
right.
spent way too much money on vinyls.
But it's fun. It is
very fun. It's a fun hobby.
Not mad about it, but it is definitely.
And to be fair, we have
suck.
a lot that were inherited from my parents.
That's true. Yeah, the only other thing that I've been up to that Anna absolutely has not been up to with me is I watched another episode of Guillermo del Toro's Cabinet of Curiosities. I watched the second episode, which is I think the rat one, the graveyard rats.
Ew.
I liked the first one better. But this one was fun. It was interesting. The first one was the.
I like the first. Yeah, I like the first one better too. I thought that was cool. They're both pretty cool.
As far as I've gotten.
I like them both. But yeah, me too. We're on the same episode.
Obviously different, but yeah, I enjoyed it. I want to watch more, but I gotta find the free time when it's mostly just me or she's doing something else, kind of thing. So.
And when you're not snapping.
And when I'm not snapping, yeah, that's true. All my free time is spent with Marvel Snap. That's true. And we have the receipts on my iPhone to prove it. I won't dwell on Marvel Snap a whole lot. Obviously, I've been playing plenty of it. But I will say my most recent things that are fun with it is I finally got Hela, and so I've been running a Hela deck, which is very fun. Difficult to pull off because I end up discarding her half the fucking time because the discard obviously is like random. And so I have Hulk, I have Infinite, I have Giganto and Hela all in the same deck because if you can discard the six power card or the 6 cost cards and you play Hela, you can distribute them across the whole thing.
Yeah.
But half the time I ended up playing Sif and she discards fucking Hela. I'm like, I guess I'll fucking run Giganto in the left lane, I guess. Whatever, man.
You run a Ghost Rider in that deck?
I do not have a Ghost Rider.
Oh! Sorry.
And I just got Hellcow. Hellcow is my most recent unlock card, and she discards 2 cards. So she's pretty nifty. And I did get Destroyer, so I've been doing like a test deck with Cosmo and Destroyer and armor and stuff like that, which is kind of fun. But anyway.
Sorry.
That's it. Anyway,
that just made me think of something else I've been consuming, which is a podcast called your Ghost Rider comment made me think of this. It's a podcast called Stealing Superman, and it's all about the theft of Nicolas Cage's Action Comics #1, the first appearance of Superman, and it goes into like the movie Superman Lives, like the movie he was supposed to be in as Superman, and I think you guys actually both would really, really like it.
Yeah, probably.
It's fantastic. The woman who's doing it, she does this noble blood. Sorry, not royal blood. Not royal blood. No,
fucking bass and drums, man. I fucking
recommend
love
royal blood as well.
Check them out.
But no,
Fucking
Noble
bangers.
Blood, which is a podcast she does about like historic, and this is how I knew about the connection between House of Dragon and whatever. But just bloody historical tales, really cool. Highly recommend that as well. But she's doing this podcast called Stealing Superman. I think it's like 8 episodes or something. It's not quite done yet, but it's really good, and it's about like, the core of it is like Nicolas Cage and how he had Action Comics #1 and how it was stolen. And this heist is like so weird and continues to be a mystery to this day. And there's all these different pieces of it. But then it also talks a lot about like, comic book culture and then like him supposed to be Superman, how he kind of it's really interesting. It's very good. I think the episodes are like 33 minutes or something. They're not long, but it's a really good podcast. I highly recommend Stealing Superman. It's really fucking good. Link to that in your show notes or whatever the fuck, because it's a really good podcast. Dana Schwartz is just awesome.
Cool. I think that's it.
That's
I think that's it. I think we did it this time. I think Andrew's conscious. I think Anna and I are conscious, and I think that we can wrap this up if we're feeling good about it.
That if we had actually completed this the other day, it would have been way shorter because it was a weekday. But now
That's
it's a
true.
Saturday, so you've all been subjected to this long episode, and Andrew's been subjected to this long episode. Thank him.
Well, he doesn't have to work tomorrow either, so
it's true.
you know,
It's true.
it works out for
All he's got to
everyone.
do is decorate for Christmas.
And that's fun though.
Yep.
You know, that's a good thing to do. It's better than waking up and going to work. That's disgusting. That's
Absolutely.
Yeah. You guys should get some Christmas vinyls. It's fun.
yeah.
I have a couple. Yeah.
Oh, you do? What do you have?
I have Trans-Siberian Orchestra and
good choice.
shit, I think we have one more. I can't remember what it is though. I can't remember what the other one is. I know I have Trans-Siberian
You should
Orchestra,
definitely
though.
put them on like when you're decorating tomorrow. It's the
Yeah.
vibe is like amazing. Highly
Totally.
recommend. Yeah, it's very fun.
Nice.
It's our first Christmas season with our record player, thanks to you.
True.
So
That's true. We got it for
I'm
Christmas
embracing
last
it.
year. Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
We got I got Batman this episode. I opened Batman.
did too.
Yes, we did. We did a little sort of
Unboxing.
audio unboxing,
Yeah.
kind of. Yeah, we talked about it a little
we
bit.
gotta play it so I can finish Dark Victory. 'Cause
Throw it on.
still
We throw it on when we're done here. I don't
middle
give
of
a fuck.
that.
I don't care what we do.
We gotta finish Miracle though.
All right, I'm going to wrap this up.
Yes.
Does that sound okay to everyone?
Yes.
Thank
Yes.
you all for listening. If you enjoyed what you heard, please spread the word. We are on Patreon at patreon.com/watchreviewrepeat. You can get early access to all of our regular episodes, as well as timed exclusive access to bonus episodes, such as our 7 Decades of Horror episode, which for the time being is still a timed exclusive bonus episode. Our website's watchreviewrepeat.com. We are on all the social medias, yes, including Twitter as of now. At WRR Pod on Twitter. Facebook.com/watchreviewrepeat for Facebook. And then we are
Or
at
just
Watch
go to the
Review
website
Repeat.
and click the buttons.
We are at Watch Review Repeat on Instagram, or go to the website and hit the buttons. That's right. Questions, comments, suggestions. Send those our way. watchreviewrepeat@gmail.com. Our intro and outro track is Mechanolith by Kevin MacLeod at Incompetech.com, licensed under the Creative Commons by Attribution 3.0 license. Should we thank you for hanging out with us and being
Yes,
our lore
twice.
expert for the episode here?
Y'all are lucky. I am
Double lore
unemployed. Otherwise, this would not happen. But yes, happy to be your nerd lore. I think it's honestly, you know, I like to brag that, you know, you guys are the nerds, but I've consumed more Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, and Game of Thrones than all y'all.
Mm-hmm. I think that's
Thank you for joining us.
unequivocally true.
Thanks for having me.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for not falling asleep today, Andrew.
Yeah.
appreciate
Thank
it.
you for joining us twice, I should say. Yeah. Take
Well,
care now.
I was gonna say I don't know what we're covering
Oh.
next. It was gonna be
Oh,
Glass
that's true.
Onion. If Andrew saw it,
He didn't.
we'll have
I
to
missed
figure
the
out what
boat.
we're doing. So
Missed the boat.
TBD is the official line right now. So anyway, we
Christmas
were saying
special,
something.
Christmas special, Christmas special.
Maybe.
Yeah, Sarah's gun ho about that too. She says you got to cover a Christmas movie.
We could do like a little Guardians Christmas special, but then also talk about our favorite Christmas.
That's a little
Media.
yeah, we could do Guardians. We could do the Guardians holiday special next.
Yeah.
That's an
That'd
easy
be
watch. It's only
fun.
40 minutes, so it's better than two
I
fucking
think this
TV
is a
shows
great
worth of shit.
idea, and then have Sarah on talk about her favorite Christmas movie, or when she watched this season.
Mm-hmm.
I could talk about Christmas movies forever.
That's not a bad idea.
I love this
I can
idea.
dig it.
Be festive, be timely for once in your fucking lives.
We try to be.
I think this is a great idea. Next podcast, Christmas. When is the Christmas? It's out.
It's out. Yeah, it came out like right after Thanksgiving.
Okay, next episode is on Guardians Christmas special and our Christmas faves. Boom.
Boom. There you heard it here
It's
first.
been decided. You heard it here first. All right. Why don't you take us out, Andrew?
Take care now. Bye bye then.
Later's on the Menge.
A Negroni Spagliato with Prosecco.
Ooh, stunning.